Well, I'm just a talking away and on mute. So, hey, you guys, how are you? It's good to see everybody. Thank you all very, very much for being here. I don't want to drag it out too long. I'm so glad you guys are here. I appreciate it so very much. Thank you again. I have a great panel tonight. I have Amber, ATS News. I have Allie, Criminality, and I also invited Melissa Jade. There she is. So I think without further ado, shall we get started? Let me bring the girls up. Hi, ladies. How are you?
Hey. Hi, everyone.
Thank you guys all so much for being here. I appreciate it. You're doing me a solid, and I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
I'm excited. I mean, it's been a while, and all of us having a Watts conversation, it's just very exciting.
I don't think all of us have had a Watts conversation, have we? I don't think so.
No, just separately.
Yeah.
And privately.
I don't think I've ever had I know me and Melissa, I know Allie and I probably talked about it like privately, maybe a little on a panel, but it wasn't the main theme. But I know me and Melissa and Amber have definitely not had a panel on the Watts. I know we haven't.
I know I had Amber last year on the anniversary, and that was wonderful, but not all together. Nope.
So this is the first, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Aren't y'all lucky? All right. So, what should we start with, do you think? Let's start with this. Let's go around the table and tell everybody how you got involved with the Watts case. So we'll start with Allie, then Melissa, then we'll go to Amber.
Okay. So for me, I wasn't really on social media true crime like that until the Watts case. And I had actually seen it on the news. I would do YouTube, like, recorded videos, hadn't found live streams yet. And I saw the video of him on the porch. And I've followed loosely, not super closely, until his plea. And then I started, when all the discovery came out, I came to YouTube, found people like Amber, and watched those interviews tons of times. That's kind of what brought me to the case and to YouTube. Live chats. Like, I would watch other YouTube videos, but yeah, Watts case really brought me to the live community. I know that wasn't the question, but
what interested you into what interested you about the Watts case, babe? That was the real question, but all the other parts were. I'm glad you explained all that too.
What made you just him on the porch, though?
The porch interview did it. All right, Melissa, your turn, Miss Ma'am.
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback off what Allie said. I didn't initially find the Watts until almost a year later, and it was on YouTube, and that's what brought me to the live streaming community. That's how I fell upon Allie's channel too. And I think it was initially, before I dug more into it, that seemingly All American Dad, it was one of the cases that was so transparent through social media. All of the posts, all of the Facebook, lives that Shanann did, everything where it was so transparent, where everything seemed so perfect. And how can something so horrific happen? And that's what originally pulled me in. And then when I started digging deeper, I'm like, there's a rabbit hole here. And like many of us, I got stuck on the island and we had to get a life raft off of it. But I'm back to it for tonight. Yeah.
How about you, Amber?
So I was doing my own research on the topic of narcissism, and a video that the media interview that Cindy Watts did popped up as, like, how YouTube will play a video automatically sometimes, like after you watch one. And then all of a sudden I just fell into this like YouTube rabbit hole of like all these videos. That's how I found Plunder. Then I started seeing Teresa when she worked with that previous channel. and the series that she had done Unmasked on NK, the mistress. And I just fell down this rabbit hole. And then, you know how when you go on Facebook, you'll get like recommended groups based off of like other things that you've been looking at on other apps. So I got recommended a Watts Facebook group, and I didn't even belong to any Facebook groups prior.
Oh, wow.
Joined in, and I was like, oh, wow. So this is like a little private like place that we can talk about this one topic. I started seeing this girl's comments, and I was agreeing with like everything she was saying. And her name was Kelly. And I'm like, finally, Kelly messaged me and she's like, so you're seeing what I'm seeing, like with the mistress? Like, she seems suspicious. Seems like, you know, there was more. Seems like she was lying. And I'm like, yes, but we were getting attacked because this was like very early on, like 2019. And people going down the rabbit hole of the mistress at the time was kind of taboo. Like, no, everyone just figured it was what it was said. And Chris, you know, it was a very black and white, simple case. And then people started questioning things about it, especially the mistress. And then, yeah, I encouraged Kelly to do a channel, and we just started doing live streams. And I also met Marcy, who's known as Crazy Crime Chick, and I encouraged her to do a channel. I did a lot of encouraging of channels before I was like ready to jump on. And then I was like, you know what, let me just do it too. And then, yeah, fast forward, here we are. And I am unable to jump off the island because a lot of my channel has been built on people who met me in that case. And now I just drag people into my chats like Johnny, and I make him show up every Thursday and moderate for me.
Wow. Okay. So for me, like I saw stuff, right? I saw the porch interview. I saw things, but I wasn't incredibly moved by the case as far as I thought it was pretty cut and dry. I thought it was what it was. And so as sad as the case was, I didn't feel like there was really much more for me to like look into. Like I thought it really was what it was. And then one of my friends, her sister is Dr. B. And Dr. B needed mods for her Facebook group. And so we started talking, and I started like, you know, because I was a mod for her group, I started paying more attention. But what really intrigued me about the Watts case was actually not the case itself. It was the after of everything, when the subject of the 35C came up, because there was a lot of talk about it, obviously, on YouTube. Everybody was talking about it. Is he going to do it? He wants it, all the things. But what I didn't really see, let me just say this. It doesn't mean that nobody was talking about it. It just means I didn't see it. Was an explanation of what a 35C actually is, and if he would even qualify for a 35C. So I started out over on, like I would do with Dr. B. We started doing roasts. And the very first roast we did was, of course, you know, NK's, they're so little, I don't know how to work a phone interview. We did that. And then I would go and, you know, hang out on ADs, and he asked me one time to come up, and I said, okay. And so we started talking about this 35C, and I was like, he doesn't qualify based on any of the stuff you guys are listing, because a 35C has to be new evidence. And I don't mean new like we don't know about it, new to us. It actually has to be new. It can't have been in the discovery in any way, shape, or form. It cannot have been something that was available at the time he made the plea deal. He does not, based on this, he does not qualify for a 35C. And to be quite honest, I never thought he wanted one to begin with. And so that's really how I made my way to the island. I mainly made my way to the island by making fun of NK and Chris Watts. That's just how it started for me, for real. And then I would talk seriously about the 35C and other stuff.
I love it.
That's how it started.
It started differently for all of us, and then it just I don't know. I guess I can't say it trapped us all, but I think for a minute it sucked us in.
It trapped
Yeah.
me. I'm trapped.
Well,
Forever. I'll never feel like the full truth is out there. I just personally don't.
Same.
I feel like I wouldn't go as far as to say the full truth. I think the majority of the truth is out. What I think we're missing is some details. And I thought about it today when I was thinking about doing this panel and what we would talk about and whatnot. And I kind of was like, I wonder if the questions that we have that are left over, if they would have even been answered at a trial, because sometimes that happens too. You go through an entire trial and you still have questions left over. Look at us with Letitia Stauch's trial, and we still have leftover questions about that. I don't think we have heard yet what the truth is, the real story about that dadgum candle.
Oh yeah, I agree.
I definitely could see the Watts ending up like Letitia's case and other trials where we're just not really like satisfied. Even Alex Murdaugh, like I know that he belongs there, and I know Watts does too, but there's still a part of me that thinks that like Murdaugh hired people to do it, and that there's something more going on. It's
right.
just
Hey Lynn, but Jen, you should. A few people were asking, what is a 35C?
Okay. So a 35C is, okay, it's something that is available only to people that have taken a plea deal. You can't, it's not anything that you, like, so say you had gone to trial, a person had gone to trial, okay, and they were convicted. Those appeals are their appeals. They're appealing a conviction. A 35C is only available to those who have taken a plea deal, and it is very, very strict rules about what qualifies and to begin the 35C process. The main and most important component of that appeal is new evidence. It has to be evidence that was not available at the time the plea deal was taken. So anything that comes from the discovery, there were several things that people were pointing to from the discovery, but anything that came from the discovery would have been available at the time that he took his plea deal, because hello, it's discovery. So therefore is not new evidence, and therefore he could not use as evidence. So it would have to be something new. And people asked frequently, well, what about Kessinger's involvement? That's not new evidence either. And it wouldn't have helped. How does her being involved help Chris Watts? It doesn't. Unless she did it alone, which she didn't.
He's sitting where he's sitting, regardless if he got dragged into it.
Exactly. He participated regardless of let's say, just for argument's sake, that Nicole Kessinger was involved. It doesn't matter her level of the role, because they would have both been charged equally under the law as a principal, which is the person who actually takes the life. That's the principal. Colorado has that law. So her being involved also is not new evidence. The new evidence would have had to be that Chris was actually he had an actual innocence claim, and he doesn't.
Right. Like even if it came out that she was the one that did the children in.
Right.
He's already signed the plea deal admitting to it.
Right.
So it's like, it's just closed all around. Every angle has been covered, and it's all him, like legally.
Exactly. Let's say he's the one who is the one who actually took Shanann's life, but Nicole Kessinger or anybody else, it doesn't even matter. We don't have to. Person X, okay, is the one who took the girls' lives, okay, it wouldn't matter. They're both parties are equally culpable under the law and would all have, and both parties would have been charged with all three of the murders. Does that make sense? So it wouldn't have, so another participant does not help Chris Watts. The only evidence that would have helped Chris Watts would have been an actual innocence claim that he didn't do anything. He wasn't even there. That maybe he came home and this had happened. It would have to be an actual innocence claim. It would have to be something so freaking compelling that it overcomes his own admission, his own confession.
And wasn't another stipulation possibly for the 35C was constitutional rights violated?
Correct. That's the other one. You can
And
use.
People tried to like go down that avenue, and it's like, no, I mean, it's pretty clear and cut.
Right.
I mean, if he had gone to trial, I think maybe he could do what Peterson had tried to do and say, like, I wasn't given a fair trial, I was tried by the media, etc.
Right. I mean, when you go to trial, you have many more avenues of appeal available to you, you know, but when you take a plea deal, and I mean, we all pretty much watched his plea deal, right? So I know I watched it because I was huge mad. His plea deal took place on the exact same day as Nicholas Godejohn's trial. It was during the exact same time. And they Law and Crime cut into Nicholas Godejohn's trial, which I was watching, to cover Chris Watts' plea deal. And they asked him, they asked him numerous times, you know, and he was evaluated and all of, Allie, it says your devices aren't connected, babe. He was, you know, evaluated. He was of sound mind. He knew what he was doing. And when he agreed to the plea deal. And I personally have always believed that the reason that he took that plea deal is because he doesn't want people to know once and for all in excruciating detail just exactly what kind of monster he is. We think we know, but I can assure you, had there been a trial, we would know. No.
Yeah, I think it's that, but also I think that it's exactly what you said, that we would actually see how awful it really was. But I tie that into, plus others are involved. Like, that's just my personal like angle of it. Like, I totally agree. Like, he didn't want his family to even see like how awful it was. I even think there's part of me that thinks that the kids might have even gone in the tanks alive. Like, that's how terrible everything ended up being. And also that there was other people tied to it too.
Now, I will say, and regardless of how you might feel personally about this specific creator, she did bring some very interesting and compelling facts to the table with regard to Bella and CeCe, and pretty much just what you were saying, ATS, with were Bella and CeCe alive in those tanks briefly? Critical K. Did you guys ever watch that?
Yeah. That's where
I used to watch her all the time.
Me too. Did you watch that live that she did way back when she asked a medical examiner his opinion? Because
I don't
who
think
was it that had oil in their belly? Was it Bella? Yes,
Bella
Bella.
did.
Bella.
What did the ME say?
That you can only get something inside of your stomach when you swallow.
Which I heard differently, though, that
Okay.
it's possible. Oh crap! That there's a possibility for another option, being that they were submerged.
Okay.
Yeah,
That, you know, like there. I don't know what exactly it was, and I don't want to say because I don't want to be wrong. But I heard that no, there's a possibility that this could have happened.
See,
yeah,
that's how I understood it too, that the more compelling evidence would have been if it were in
The
her
lungs.
lungs.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Mhm.
But at the same time, we don't have their full reports.
No, we do not.
So that's the other thing that's kind of left me with like, well, how can I 100% say that it wasn't that horrific? I don't know. There's just like something in my gut, and just
I
it's
think
so
there's something-
awful as is that it's
Exactly.
Well,
I will. Yeah. Go ahead, MJ. Go ahead, babe.
well, I don't want to get too ahead or too, like it's even how they managed to get in there. I still struggle with.
Me too.
Yep. Me too.
I agree, and I will say this again, as annoyed as we are that there wasn't a trial with this case, I think, just for me personally, that as thrown off as it is and as messed up as it is, and even though it's left so many, there's a lot of unanswered questions. I think there are some questions that are probably better left unanswered, because they would have had to explain that. The Emmy would have had to get up there, and they would have been asked many, many questions regarding how those girls could have fit in there. And the Emmy would have had to tell you guys, and I'm telling you, you don't want to know.
Well, it's kind of like with Chad Doerman, the recent plea he took. I mean, I don't like it. I wish we could have seen a trial just like with Watts. But on the other side of that, we know that his family that wasn't killed that day, that witnessed all of the awful stuff he did, wanted that, because it's
Right.
really hard to go through a trial. So, for those reasons, I can be okay with it, even though, I mean, it ain't up to me. Who the hell am I? But still, I would like to see it. But you know what I mean? That makes it easier
Right.
to handle.
Well,
Can you
the thing-
imagine, though, if they would have had to testify, especially the stepdaughter?
Oh, God.
I know, and that's the thing, is the Ruseks, they wanted the plea deal because they didn't want to go through the trial. And I can empathize with that and take
Yeah.
away my own like curiosity of like, okay, but I want more answers,
Right.
Yeah, I think that I've just accepted that it's worse than what we think. And that's just like, I don't let my mind go too deep, but there is parts of me that are like, I can't 100% say that they weren't alive when they went in there, like 100%, like some days it might be one way, other days it might feel a different way. The fact that Bella was at like the bottom of the tank, like when they looked in, they could see CeCe floating. When they couldn't find Bella, like she wasn't visible. I don't know much about like drowning and stuff, but what does that mean to you guys?
Well, I mean, if there's more air and maybe in CeCe, but if
the levels were different, though. The levels of the
of the
oil
oil,
were a big difference between one and the other. So Bella's had a lot more oil, which would make more sense why she would be more submerged, versus
Right.
CeCe, where it was only, I believe, a couple of inches. I don't remember all the details right now, but it was only a couple inches.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That makes
and
sense.
oil is heavy.
Yes.
It's not like water. It's not
Water
buoyant.
and oil, when you put that in the cup and they separate.
Well,
Right.
yeah, but this wasn't just oil in there. Like there was water like percentage.
Yeah, but it was mainly oil, and so it would have. Okay, it's different. It has a different buoyancy than just water
Right.
by itself. So I think, and also I think because of that, and because the levels were different, there were different amounts in the separate tanks. I think that is why there is a difference in the way that they looked and how they were found.
Why
Well,
do you guys? Oh, go ahead, Melissa.
Well, and the truth is that they were sitting in there, and the decomp process is going to be different, depending on the circumstances, and so it's possible that could have come into play as far as releasing gases, how one body may have been more submerged than another. Each body is different, and we know what happens during decomp and stuff, so that may have also been a factor.
Why do you guys think that they were in separate tanks? Do you have any thoughts on that? And that's something I've wondered about myself.
To not throw off the level. Isn't it all monitored, right? the weight, everything
Mm.
down to a T. It's all very, as far as I know, monitored. And so why would you, one, take
Right.
a risk of putting them both in one tank, but two, potentially throw off and get an alarm for the levels being off?
That's a good. I had never even heard that theory before, which that's really interesting because that makes sense. But also,
Yeah,
I
I
would
don't
think that 30-pound children would throw it off a lot, anyways. At least 30 at that age. I would just say like an estimated, at least 30 pounds, or I don't know how much they weighed,
I
but
think that that's possible. I just don't think Watts had that like knowledge to know like.
Oh, I think he did because he worked that. That's what he did. So when you work those tanks, you're aware, you know what's going to. I'm sure that there is a little bit of room, just a little bit of room for the levels to be off before an alarm goes off, right? Because they always have to take in room for something.
But I've never even seen proof that alarms go off. Like I've heard this theory, and I know that they're saying, well, they monitored this and that, but like I've never.
I don't know, but I would assume so because everything, especially something like oil tanks, would make sense that it is absolutely being monitored and levels are being monitored.
I know somebody who would know.
Exactly. I was just gonna say.
Jim?
Just gonna say.
Do we need to call Jim?
If Chris did have this knowledge, I think he got it from somebody that worked in health and safety.
Yeah.
I mean,
But personally, I think they were put in different tanks because it was more than one person there. One runs up to one goes to the other. They got to get out of there quick. Shanann's in the grave. They had to quickly dig in, bury her. She was only inches above the surface.
Yeah, she was barely in the grave.
Yeah.
But what bothers me also is her level of decomp doesn't seem to align perfectly with where it should have been at.
What do you mean?
See, I wish I had this all in front of me. This is back so
now,
far.
listen, I told you girls that this was going to be like a potluck and y'all had to bring your own dish.
I have to agree with Melissa. Like it's well,
she
first
was
off, we don't have even the insect. And I think it was on your live stream, Melissa, where you talked about the insects with Gannon and like that whole, and of course that would have been, shared and stuff at trial, but we have nothing to kind of indicate that when Chris got home that morning at 2 to 4 p.m., that's when she died, like in her state of autopsy, like when it was done. Like, in fact, they describe it as mild.
Right, exactly. When meanwhile, the temperature is a huge factor. She was not that much underground. All right, I'll be back. Now I'm going to have to pull this up.
Yay.
Yay. What I do remember is that her level of decomp didn't really match.
So you think that should have been, there should have been more decomp than what there was. Is that what you're saying?
I feel like they wouldn't have described it as mild if it was early morning Monday. Like, I think that it's possible she was killed on Monday, but I'm not convinced that it was before he left the house and he loaded her in the truck at like 4:02. She got home 1:48. He loads the truck around 5 something and is off by 5:45.
What day were they found? Wednesday or Thursday?
They were found Wednesday. They were recovered Thursday, and her autopsy was done Friday. And it says all the rigor in her small muscles were released by then. Right. And that's the only like description of somewhat of a, okay, so, everything was released by then. Your small muscles are first to rigor. And then what are they, first to release as well?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's all. Hey, Teresa, good to see you, babe. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, this is legit. Like taken back to the old school right here. Look at this.
Yeah,
beautiful women. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hey.
So glad you could make it, girls. I'm gonna listen. Nestor's having a really bad day today, and he needs to go out again. So you guys keep talking. I'm gonna listen on my phone. I will be in the chat monitoring, okay? But just give me like 2 minutes, okay? He's just having a really bad night tonight.
We got it.
All right.
We got it, baby.
Thanks. I appreciate y'all.
While let me ask Teresa what Jen asked us. What brought you to the Watts case?
The Watts case in particular,
Yeah,
I would
just
say
like yeah.
at that time I was watching this TV show that they don't really have on anymore. I think they may have it streaming or something on YouTube, but it was just called True Crime Daily. And so he would just come on and like tell us all the things that were happening. And I'd been watching it for a little while, and then they showed the infamous porch video, and that was it. I was like, what's going on here? What's up with this guy? Why is he acting so weird? And they were showing pictures of Shanann and the girls, and I was like, okay, this doesn't make any sense. Like, this is a good-looking family, 2.5 kids, beautiful home. Like, what is happening? And that was it for me. I was in.
Yes, that's what I said. The porch interview there, I think it caught so many people's attention, that interview. And also, like you said, you have this beautiful family, beautiful home, all like Melissa had added, we have like all the social media history of Shanann, which makes you really feel like once you do start paying attention, you feel like you really know them. Just a combination of things.
I'm sharing my screen, but like, yeah, on the 14th in Frederick, it was up to 88 degrees, like it was hot.
Wow. And the problem, not the problem, but I guess the theory that of me saying that it didn't happen before Watts left that house in the morning is it would have to involve other people. So that's where it's like, my theory, it's like either you're on board with it or you're not. Like, I can't help it. That's how I feel about it. But there is stuff that are just, I wish we had more description. I believe also, now that we're talking about the burial site, there's a note from a CBI agent when before she's taken out of the shallow grave, where he mentions smelling the wind, and he didn't smell any decomp.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is strange too. Like, how do you not smell something that's right there, like underneath the surface of the soil?
Yeah, a couple days in,
you would definitely think. In the burning sun. Yeah, it was hot. I know it rained, but it was hot, and that absolutely factors into the rate of decomp.
The other thing that's questionable for me is the sheet. The fitted sheet is only described to have dirt on it from dragging.
Right.
So when Watts talks about she released her bowels and the girls said it smelled, blah, 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 like, but there's nothing on there or in
the dog didn't alert to the, it's just so bizarre.
Yeah. It is bizarre.
So have you guys talked about yet? Like, so obviously this many years later now, we're in 2024 already. So 6 years later, where do you guys fall on what happened? Like, what's your theory of what actually went down?
We have not, but I would love to hear that from everybody. So somebody go first.
I think that's you, Allie. You're going first.
All right. Well, it is what it is then. No, I don't even have a sound theory. I really don't. I just don't think that it was just him. I've went back and forth with like the video footage and all that kind of stuff. And I there's nothing there that I could definitively point to. It is or isn't this or that. I'm still, look, I know people might feel how they feel about it, but to me, there are just too many red flags with Nicole Kessinger, the searches, the ping, all of that stuff. And I just truly do believe in my heart that I don't know if I think that she helped. Like, I don't really have I don't know with that, but I definitely think that she knows more. Her listening in on that phone call, like, why are you listening in to him talking to police about his missing family unless, I don't know. It just, that nothing sets right with me with that. And I think that she knows more. I think it's odd she's never came out and said anything. Her searches about Amber Frau, all that kind of stuff. I don't think we have all the answers, but I don't have a personal theory where I'm like, I think this person did this. I think, that kind of thing.
Do you think that she was there? Do you think she was at the house, or do you think she just knows more than what she's saying?
Part of me thinks she was there the whole time. Part of me thinks maybe she came to help in the aftermath. I think she was there at some point, yeah, but I'm just not sure if was she there when Shanann got home, or was she there later? that morning. What about you guys?
She was definitely there, in my opinion, later that morning. I don't find it coincidental that she pinged, right? Like, I mean, granted, we don't have all of her data to be able to say, all right, how many times did she ping in that location? But I think she was doing a drive-by. She knew damn well Shanann was coming home. God only knows what Chris was telling her, right? He probably led her to believe that I'm going to break it to her, you know, like I'm telling her I want out. And I think she did a drive-by to see activity going on, you know, like, is her car there? Are the blinds open? You like, what's going on? Now I think she knew, I think she fed him everything, but not literally. Like, I think she got into his head. I think she got him to, she made herself everything Shanann wasn't, everything Chris thought he wanted. And she handed him, you know, like the idea without literally saying it's the idea. And I think she's acting all shocked after, I don't know what you're talking about, when this is exactly what she, I don't want to say that she knew was going to happen, but what did you think was going to happen? She wanted him without Shanann. She wanted him to choose her. I just don't know the level of involvement she literally had, but I think she absolutely knows more than she's letting on.
Okay, well, what about that phone call? Like, okay, because I'm with you, but what makes me think she knows more, and in the literal sense, not just like the idea, because I've thought about that too, is that phone call. Why are you listening in to him with police? Why is he allowing it? If he knows he did this and he's trying to like get away with it and sneak off with his mistress, why does he even want her listening in as he speaks to detectives about his family being missing?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So that's
like
like
a great point. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think she knew, even if he didn't know she knew, if that makes sense. Like, she handed him everything. She played a part. She was manipulative. And I think she was nosy and snoopy as fuck. And so she knew what he probably did, but kept her distance while listening in, if that makes sense. Like, she was Gypsy at that door on her hands and knees, listening in.
That is a different rabbit hole for a different day. I have, okay. I want to hear you guys and then I'll tell you mine. So Amber, what's yours? And then Teresa. Are you not ready, Amber? Teresa,
Teresa.
Okay. All right, Teresa. You're at you ask the question, you got to give the answer. Then Amber.
Oh, I absolutely think she knew. I don't think she was there. I think that everything when it came to what was going to happen with Shanann was planned. I think that more people outside of just the two of them knew about Shanann. I think the issue came to that the girls weren't supposed to die, and that's when everybody on the outside freaked out, is because they all knew Shanann was going to go, because they didn't think that she was ever going to let him move on with his life. But they were going to keep the girls. That's what I think.
Wow. I'm stunned with that.
No, you're not.
No, I am. I feel like your theory might have changed over time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. My theory definitely changed. I think it was because this is one of those cases. It's like so silly, but like once my head is like stuck in like not knowing what happened, like I have to come up with, if we can't get the actual answers, like I go through all the things that we can actually get our hands on, and then otherwise I have to just come up with like the theory that fits best in my gut, in my brain.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where I'm at. I don't think the girls were supposed to die. I think that was a last minute decision that he made on his own, and that's why everybody turned on him.
See, I think it's so cool to do this. I'm glad we're doing this, Jen. I'm glad that you had this idea, because I know for sure all of you have looked at this so closely. So when I hear your theories and opinions, like, it has a lot of weight. You know what I mean? It's just so interesting because I know you've done so much research, all of you guys. It's just interesting to me. Wow. Okay.
Okay, so for mine.
Yes, now Amber, you tell your turn.
Okay, you have now entered the Twilight Zone.
Oh, goodness.
No, I just really think that it's much deeper than what's been portrayed by the district attorney and just mainstream media.
I need to put up the crazy gizmo? Do we need that?
Pretty
Okay.
much. Everyone put
Okay.
their tinfoil hats on. Like, I'm sorry, it's just my thoughts and opinion. That's why I wanted Teresa to go first, because I'm like, she's gonna like level me down, like bring me back down to reality. But I just feel the way I feel, and I can't I can't change, I guess, kind of like you were saying, like your gut, and just, you know, things just don't make sense. And much like Teresa, like I don't think the children were supposed to be a part of the plan. I think that there's also a level of NK's friend, Leave Jim Alone, that's tied into this somehow, some way, shape, or form. He, before he closed down his social media, had very like politically driven posts and stuff like that, like about, you know, just, I don't know. I just think there's a level of eco-terrorism tied into this, and they were going to explode the tanks, make it look like some sort of accident. Again, I don't know how that would have happened because I'm not like an arsonist or anything, but I just think that there's enough that actually are still happening. I mean, oil tanks blow up all the time over this country, and fracking is a very political subject, especially in Colorado, because of the safety of it. And I just think it's way too coincidental that house exploded months before NK started searching the family in 2017. So to me, that's way too coincidental too. So she's searching the family months after the house explosion. She searches Watts first, not Shanann. So then all of a sudden it's like, why was he, you know, of interest? I think they met at the gym. The affair lasted much longer than they claim. Even them knowing each other, I think, was much longer than they claim, at the very least. Like the ping to me is pretty solid, that I think she was there in that house. There's Vivint stuff that's taken place on their security system that kind of indicate that another person was at the house even after he left. Unfortunately, the records on Vivint are completely sealed from the public. And if he acted alone, I feel like, why would they need to seal that? Like, it should pretty much show. Well, the thing is, in the discovery, they put a motion through to seal it because they said, if this goes to trial, this is information that we need to have protected and kept secret for the integrity of, you know, the trial. But they never unsealed it. We never get to see his full phone records. He claims he didn't delete stuff that he talked about with NK with, but we don't ever see any of that. She, not only did she delete her text messages with him, but she, when Shanann went missing on Monday and they were having phone conversations, she was deleting phone calls to Chris. Like, why are you deleting the phone calls too? Because a lot of people use the argument, well, she didn't want her private.
No. Yeah, sorry. No, that's a load of shit. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Deleting because you're trying to delete evidence. And now what the level of evidence is, I don't know. But you're trying to delete something. And how the hell was she allowed to be interviewed with her dad? Tell me what grown-ass adult, and her dad dictated. Let's chill out. Let's back up. You know, she already, what the hell? Where have you ever seen that before?
Yes, please explain, Jen Lou.
Yeah, Benji.
Me?
You always have the legalities.
Well, this is what I'll say. I think they brought NK in as more than a witness, like more than, well, let me put it like this, not as a witness, meaning she saw some things, as a potential person of interest. And I think that in order to make her feel comfortable, I think that they allowed her father to be in there and to put her at ease. Is that a typical thing? No. But at that moment, NK was the closest person to Chris Watts at that time, other than Shanann, which he took her voice.
She was texting the detective in the middle of the night. Do you not think that that was extremely manipulative? Do you not think that that was her trying to be the girl and I just happened to remember something that couldn't wait 4 more hours. I have to text you at 1:30 a.m. I think she was trying to open up that door. I think it was highly inappropriate. And I think she ran that interview and how everything unfolded, her dynamics with the detectives. It was highly inappropriate.
She
know
said
who
to
else?
the detective, "Hey, it's 1:30. You want to do some butt stuff?"
Ay, ay, ay.
You know who else was texting the detective in the middle of the night? Oh,
Letitia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
But
yes.
totally different
also-
dynamics, you know, like,
Yeah.
but
Yes.
Nicole, I think she was trying to open the door and use her, I'm pretty, you know, I'm just this innocent, and oh, I happen to remember something. It's what, you can't wait till 8, you know, like you have to text at
Right.
1:30.
Right. You can't text me at a
Open our
reasonable
door.
hour. The only people who text at 1:30 in the morning are booty calls. Thank you.
That,
And
I was
Kay.
hoping for that.
that's how she controlled the situation.
Yes.
I think she was trying to see, will he text back? You know, like, how can I go about this dynamic of the relationship? She knew what she
Remember,
was
she
doing.
calls him Kevin and stuff too.
Yeah.
Also, an even more aspect, which I want to hear Teresa kind of speak on, hopefully, is, you know, Trent Bolt being, you know, allegedly connected to NK. It's like she was controlling a narrative, like deterring. Remember, because he's like, did you hear about this, Kevin Kobeck? And she's like, you know, wouldn't surprise me. He lied to me about a lot too, or something like that. And it's like, oh, okay.
Okay, but can I say one thing really quick before Teresa talks about that? I just want to remind everybody that yes, those records are sealed. However, they can be petitioned to be unsealed. All that has to happen is someone from the public would need to show good cause as to why those records being unsealed, and be willing, when you make the petition person, to allow for there to be redactions to protect some privacy. Because not Chris Watts, but unfortunately, the concession will have to be made that some of the stuff having to do with Nicole and the text and everything, her number will be redacted. But I mean, there's got to be room for compromise. The case is over. He's never going to get a 35C. He doesn't want one. He doesn't qualify for one either. But that's beside the point. People could actually petition the courts and have that unsealed.
I think we should do it. I really do. I mean, I don't know that they would say yes. I feel like they might try everything not to ever let anything else go, but might as well try.
It would make a much stronger, more compelling case if we had somebody from the state of Colorado along with anybody on the petition, and I'll tell you why. Because the courts, they serve and are elected by their constituents, i.e. the residents. The judge is, no matter how compelling of an argument I make, no matter how well thought out it is, no matter how salient an argument I make, I live in Florida. He does not give a rat's fat kneecap. I don't vote for him. I don't mean anything. So what we definitely would need is we would need to have a Colorado resident, it'd be even better if the same county, if we could, to help with the petition.
All
That's
I
what
know
we
is
would need.
when I did a Freedom of Information Act, the response said that they were protecting people's right to privacy, something along those lines. I'd have to reread it, but protecting people, and that's why they wouldn't release more information.
Right, they're protecting privacy. See, when
Only
Chris,
hers.
What was that?
But only hers.
Right. That's
Right.
what I assume. But they did say you can appeal this, and then I was just like, you know what?
We absolutely can appeal, and there is an argument to be made that. So what happened after Watts took his plea deal is the DA and the judge, they all sat down together and they all figured out what in the discovery would be what's in the public's best interest. Although one might want to remind them that what would really not be in the public's best interest is some of the stuff that y'all didn't redact. So how much about privacy can you really care? Anywho, that's neither here nor there, but that's the thing.
Right.
Those are things that they decided. This is not in the public's best interest. That's not in the public's best interest. And it was almost a little bit, in my opinion, the way that they decided on some of that stuff, very willy-nilly and doesn't actually make any sense. Does that mean that there is something more, like a bigger conspiracy behind it? Not necessarily. Sometimes it just bees like that. But we could definitely petition. We could absolutely appeal to have that unsealed. Okay, now Teresa, you go.
Well, I would think it would be beneficial. Before I answer Amber's question, I think it would be beneficial to going through like discovery and seeing what pieces we know are missing.
Yeah.
Like that you can tell are missing based on what they're discussing. Like, okay, so if you guys are discussing this, then where is this piece? Like that, where did you get this information from? Or if we had any idea of what was missing, we'd have a better chance of being able to access it.
Nothing can be sealed forever. Even Kennedy's assassination, all that stuff that had an unsealed date. That's
Elvis
at the top.
is going to be unsealed soon at his 50th.
All that you can't. I mean, even if there's stuff at the federal level, government, an assassination on a president. If they can't seal that for all eternity, you think that they can seal Watts's crap for all eternity? No, they can't. We just need to know what we're doing. We just need to know what we're looking for what to ask for first, and why we're asking. We have to make a compelling argument. And I honestly think the best argument to be made, quite frankly, is that so much speculation, so many things have gone on. It actually might, brace yourselves, we all might be seeing the whole thing with NK completely wrong. And that is because it seems that there is so much mystery shrouding her. So many things seem to have been done to protect her. However,
why wouldn't she petition for it to be like, let me get the truth out there?
Yeah,
because there's no way that NK can talk and look good. She is not Amber Fry.
We know that the district attorney, remember he did the whole thing on his wife's podcast, and then she went copyright everybody for playing it. Yes. And he's adamant that she has nothing to do with anything, and everybody needs to let it go. Well, if there was some piece of something that they had that was like, yeah, this is like, here's how we prove that she has nothing to do with anything. Why wouldn't they have put that out when he knows that however many years later that was, 4 or 5 years later, people were still bringing it up during his wife's podcast?
Because I think the way that it works, Teresa, is I think that there has to be, he petitioned for it to be sealed.
Right.
So I think
he can just unseal it.
Well, he could, but I think that he's waiting for somebody to petition, and then he can have a reason. See, then there's no blowback, right? Because then his hands are clean, right? He had to do it by the court order, right? He has to, if let's say I petition the court, right? I get an attorney, I hire an attorney, and I have the attorney petition, and I am successful, and it has to be, and it gets unsealed. Then Rourke's hands are clean. He protected privacy until the courts made him not do it. It's like a weird legal loophole. It's a way of throwing the rock and hiding your hand. You see what I'm saying? By saying that there is stuff that we haven't seen, right, that would clear her, what does that make the public want to do? See that stuff. So, of course, they would request it. I just can't believe nobody's thought about this, to just petition the court. That's all it's not, that's all. It'll take a while. It's not going to be tomorrow. Even if I petition the court right now, it'll be a while.
Didn't Plunder do something similar to get the video?
Yes.
So you would think they would have, I don't know, given
only if she asked. Only if she specifically, it depends on what she asked for in that petition. That's the thing about the courts. You've got to be very, very specific. Mm-hmm. And if all Plunder wanted to see was that interview that we know was videoed, obviously it's been released now, right? Then that's what she would have asked for, and that's what they would have dealt with.
I have an idea. I think that we should talk to an attorney in Colorado and see if we can find one that would help us.
Yeah. I don't think it's been petitioned, Natasha. We would have heard about it. All of us up on this panel, as much as we pretend like we hate this freaking island, we'd be paying attention. If it had been petitioned, we would. Yeah, let's get Boone on it. Boone is an excellent letter writer. Let's get her to do it.
Let's get a flyer going. Let's just get a flyer. and see if
She does.
anybody's willing to partake.
She does make a hell of a flyer, given her limited, you know, tools and resources. I mean, she used notebook paper and a pen. It was pretty compelling. I think mine was better, making her look like Uncle Sam. I thought that was
Yeah,
genius.
that was pretty funny. But no,
What do
her
you think
flyer
about this
actually
scenario?
did look decent.
What do you think about this scenario? One of the
Okay.
families feel there's enough circumstantial evidence to sue NK for wrongful death, and then they get all the information that
An
way.
OJ type situation.
Yeah,
I mean, that's an idea. I mean,
But that would have to be the Ruziks.
right.
well, even for their grandchildren, couldn't the Watts?
They could. In
They-
theory, yes, they
don't
could.
want it.
But
They
they
wouldn't
won't.
want it.
That's the thing. It's like there are other avenues like the petition. Yeah, let's do it. Let's, a lawyer in Colorado, sure. And then you think about like the families, and it's like, obviously it's a touchy subject, obviously, but it's like, if that was my family, like, I don't see how they can turn a blind eye to the point where it's like,
You think that if their attorneys thought that it was possible to sue her for wrongful death and get more answers or more anything that they didn't already have, that, I mean, they pretty much sued everybody.
true.
I would think they probably would have.
I mean,
maybe the lawyers never really believed it. I mean, I don't know.
Or not. I don't think not everyone would go for that option. Some people prefer to keep the book closed with certain things because the possibility of not having the truth and something more being there is taunting, and it's too much to handle, and it's opening up a can of worms.
Well, think about this. Chris and Dylan were writing that book, the devotional. Cindy
irony of
even
that.
acknowledged that was going to come out, okay? The book gets published after 10 copies are sold. Actually, I think 11 copies to be clear. 11 copies are sold. A third-party representative reaches out to Amazon, who reaches out to Dylan, and they sent me all those emails when I talked to them, and said that Chris didn't want it out there. Dylan, they believe, because through his writings, which we've seen some of them, he talks a lot about the crime, and they also believe that his family doesn't want the book opened again, and his new girlfriend also doesn't want the book opened again. So would they turn a blind eye to anything because they don't want it opened again, and they don't want all the attention? The girlfriend doesn't want Chris getting more fan mail. The family doesn't want more
Wait, Chris's new girlfriend or Dylan's new girlfriend?
Chris's new girlfriend. That's just a theory that Dylan and them gave me, was that Chris's new girlfriend, that Dylan claims that him and Cindy talked about this. Chris's new girlfriend is
this
really
number
not.
3?
Well,
4? 3 or 4?
I don't know actually.
Your girlfriend 3.
But we did get the visitors list. So did you see that, Teresa? Because
I saw, but I think it was like upside, like, or going like up versus going down.
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
I was watching your live when I was watching it on replay, and I was like, okay, these are like, some of them were like old, and it was like the way that it was different than it normally is.
Well, it was just a video I put out. I just put out scrolling through the pages of his visitors, but we could go back and look. But apparently his girlfriend isn't a fan of the fan mail he gets and stuff and the attention he gets. Apparently
Why would she be when she obviously wrote him fan mail, and that's how she became his girlfriend?
Correct.
Yeah.
Because all of us women on this panel know how you get them is how you lose them.
That's true.
And Kay, I'm looking at you.
It's ridiculous.
Apparently he gets a lot of it. Like I'm talking every day, 15 letters, like that daily pretty much.
Yeah,
You would be amazed at the
So
kind of
fucking
men
weird.
that get Richard Ramirez, who got up in a court of law and admitted in front of God and everybody that he didn't brush his teeth.
Yeah,
for
he stunk.
3 years
smell
or
it in
some
the courtroom.
crazy amount of that,
victims
like
told
something
said
crazy
that.
like that, had girls. had all kinds of fans.
Crying over
They
him.
were in love with him. He was married while he was on death row. For
I
Pete's
saw
sake.
that. Yeah.
Manson
Yeah, but
got
they fixed his teeth for him.
Yeah, but I mean,
Really?
before his teeth got fixed and he was all
They
funky
said
and
he
disgusting,
was-
they were in
he
love
could
with him. They
smell
thought he
like
was hot.
you could not even stand near him without getting that's what one of his victims that survived
Yes,
recalled from him is the stench
smell,
that
the
was on
stench.
him.
Yeah, like it was like body odor too, not
Yeah.
just heat.
Yes, everything. It was all awful.
I do remember I did some like looking into hybristophilia or whatever, and like
Mhm.
that was a huge one that came up, was him and the fan club that he
I'm
had.
surprised that doesn't cut him up more with Gypsy and Ryan, because that's all that is. But people don't really look at it when it's a male reaching out to a female for some reason, the same way they do when it's a female reaching out to a
Interesting.
That
male.
is an interesting topic to.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. We'll have to get into that because there have been some newer allegations
Mhm.
that old Gypsy Rose was running a sweetheart scam in the clink.
Mhm.
Interesting.
Surprise.
Mhm.
So
But
I
yeah.
heard that Watts and his cellmate have a bulletin board in their area, their cell, and they pin up all these like letters and stuff from the women.
Oh my God. Well,
They're
that's
allowed
how,
to have pins?
remember
Somehow they get them up on
they
the board.
tape them up
Yeah.
or something.
I'm telling
Yeah.
you.
I'm
remember-
wondering what kind of sticky substance could they have used?
Gum.
Ew.
Gum. We're gonna go with gum. Class.
remember,
Yeah, rhymes with gum. Rhymes with
remember, that's how Dylan met that girl,
Yeah.
Christy or whatever.
Chrissy. Yes.
He
Yeah.
reached
She
out
was
to
a
Chris.
discard.
Yeah,
Yes.
she was
Her
treated.
off.
She
Treated
was
her.
like she was obsessed with Chris. Even I feel like that's why she was in that relationship, because
Absolutely.
yeah,
100.
closer to him. Crazy. What about our potluck though?
Oh, I forgot Amber's question that she asked me. I have no idea what it even was now.
no.
to answer it.
Just the allegations that NK put Trent
Trent.
Bolt in the investigation as like a distraction and in the media. I mean, I think that he really was tied to NK, and it seemed like it was proven through social media that he was friends with people that
Yes.
that knew her or something.
Yes. They were all connected.
Wasn't there like a rehab connection?
Well, yes, there's that too. Hazelbrook.
Okay.
But I do think that he was paid to come in and say that he was also having an affair with Chris to make it more scandalous, because her biggest thing was she didn't want to be deemed the catalyst for what happened to Shanann and the girls, because she was like, I'm not even going to be able to go outside for like the next 5 years, blah blah blah. And it was like, yeah, at least you can go outside, stupid ass, but whatever.
Right. Exactly.
But I do think that she was trying to get people she knew to come forward and say, yeah, we had affairs with him also. So then she wouldn't be as big of a deal.
Yeah, like
Exactly.
it would show like, oh, he's such a scumbag. He's done this so many times.
But I think that it's interesting that she chose a man. If that's true, if she did say, if she had something to do with that, it would be one thing for Chris to be a cad and catting about all over town with different women. The truth of the matter is, even though it shouldn't be, but we all know that a man who is married and presents as heterosexual lives a heterosexual lifestyle. If that occurs, and then some guy comes and says, I've been having an affair with Chris Watts, and we've been getting it on, of all places, at Chick-fil-A, behind the Chick-fil-A, which I don't believe all that, because I used to work for Chick-fil-A when I was in high school, and even the freestanders, those have monitors on the dumpsters. But whatever, that's not either here nor there. But it's like she did it to be extra scandalous. It wouldn't have been enough.
Their whole motto is my pleasure.
That is true. That is true. Do you know, I hated that, because when I was in school, okay, that was the deal. You have to say my pleasure, not you're welcome. So be in high school, be a girl, and have high school guys come up and, they continue to say thank you to you. So you have to continue to say my pleasure.
Yes.
I thought
It was a
the
freaking nightmare.
Chick-fil-A was with that Amanda girl.
I
Yeah.
thought Trent. Was it not Trent Bolte?
Trent,
thought it was
in
Amanda.
the truck. Yeah, Trent was in the truck in a hot tub situation or something.
Yep.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll just
Amanda.
remember they done brought Chick-fil-A into it. How dare they?
And you're like, it's scandalous.
So scandalous. But I do feel like that if that's true, that she did that to be extra scandalous, which I don't know why if that is true, I don't know why she bothered to read anything about Amber Fry, because she did absolutely nothing that Amber Fry did. Amber Fry truly didn't know that Scott was a married man. She didn't know. Whereas NK brought her and her spicy empanada over to the house. And there is not a woman on this planet who can go into someone's house and not know that another woman lives there. That's baloney, NK. You are not fooling anybody. And that's where my irritation, part of it, that's where it started with me. When she acted like she didn't know.
We're separating.
Okay, I don't care what story he came up with. She went to that house. There's no way on God's green earth that she went into that house and saw anything that looks like they were separating.
Well, and
I don't
there's
care
way
even if he
she
made.
didn't know Shanann was pregnant. Right.
Right.
Her Facebook was open. She was posting all of that, and she was absolutely keeping up with it. You cannot tell me she was not.
No, she
Which
was.
also leads me to believe there is more involvement than we know. I don't know how much, but just the way that she would go to Google, right, Amber Fry, and she would take these steps versus having a genuine, authentic reaction of how serious, wow, I was just sleeping with a man who just did something so horrific. And I know everyone experiences trauma in their own way, but I wouldn't anticipate your mind going, Amber Fry, book deal. How do I go about making myself clean?
Net
That
worth
stands out.
Amber Fry net worth. Why are you looking up Amber Fry's net worth? Like,
Right.
you're
How does that help you? Now,
the
to be
more-
fair, I need to see that it's been a minute since I've looked at those Googles, but you know how when you Google something, how it, and even more now, but less, probably a little less then, how it will start suggesting things for you. Sometimes, and we don't know this because there wasn't a trial, we don't know whether it came up on its own and did she click it. We just know it was searched. So we don't know because it could have filled in for her. So
wouldn't that be in the Celebrate report? I can't remember. I know I've looked at it years ago, but I know in like the more recent ones I've seen, it will say if it's been like a.
I don't know
prior
if they did
search.
it back in 2018. That's what I'm trying to
Okay.
think about.
Oh, okay. Amber, do you remember like how it looks in the report if it says that it was like a prior search or a
It's so minimal from what we have. Like, we don't even have the full Celebrate report. We just have the discovery, and then in the timeline, it'll put like a little like section of like, and this came up,
okay.
and then this came up.
Yeah, it's what the analyst chose to pick out of everything to put in that timeline. Yeah, that's
right.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
other than that, we have like the data for his truck. We have the data. We have her phone bills, which are not the same as the Celebrate report. So we didn't get like the actual. I mean, there you go. Or who's making the list of what we need to request? There's a couple things we just named them.
Allie's the class secretary. She's the best at the to-do lists.
Okay.
Even for Watts'
gotcha.
own information, like we have very little, and it's only in the discovery timeline, like you're saying, where they'll put in a slot, and then Watts searched blah 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 blah, and then Watts transferred photos to the secret calculator, but it's not like the report of it.
It's not the raw data. It's just a timeline.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, because I remember with a few others we've looked at recently, it'll give you more information, and like with Karen Reed, for instance, or okay, what was the Vivint, Celebrate and Vivint, and was there anything else?
Chris's phone. Just put that on there.
Okay.
I mean, this is the way I see NK. It does bother me that she was searching Chris. I think she did have her eyes set on him. I think that this is an antiquated term, but you guys will know it NK is what we refer to as a cleanup woman. She's the woman that will come and take your man. And I think what she did was she did her homework.
Oh, yeah.
And I think what she did was she studied the social media to figure out how to be essentially the anti-Shanann.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And she set out to do that. And I think that Chris, who, let's be honest, he's not what he did makes him unattractive. Okay. But like actually physically, he's not an unattractive man. He's not completely unfortunate looking, but he was a bit of a pork chop when he married Shanann. Okay. And I don't, and he's kind of like awkward. Okay.
Yeah.
He's not like, you can't, there's, it is what it is. And so I think he suddenly got this attention from NK, who is completely unencumbered. She's footloose. She's fancy free. There are no strings attached. She doesn't have children, which it is that's what I think. And then she introduced the butt stuff, and Chris was an absolute honor. And what I think happened is I think that NK was pissed. I think when she came over to that house, she said, this does not look like the home of a couple that is separating. Y'all definitely do not look like you're living two separate lives. This is bullshit. I'm not fixing to be the mistress forever. And I do think that she gave Chris an ultimatum. I think she rode by the house that morning because I think Chris had promised her by putting that dinner on that credit card, he knew Shanann would see, which is ridiculous. It's such a passive aggressive way to handle things. And he knew, I think that NK knew there was going to be a confrontation. Do I think she knew it was going to result in what it resulted in? No, I don't. That's just me though. This is stuff that's subject to change. Should there be something in that discovery that changes my mind, I will be the first person to say that. But right now, what I think is she rode past that house because what she expected she wanted to see if Shanann was there. And I actually think she thought about stopping in and confronting her. That's what I think was going to happen. I think she lost her nerve.
Well,
I think she wanted to make sure Chris was doing what he said he was going to do, and she wanted to just see what was going on. Just a drive-by. Are the lights on? Or is her car there? Can you see anything? And him paying with that card was a gesture to her, showing her how serious he was.
But at 6:15 in the morning, or whenever the pink, what was it, 6:12 or something, wouldn't she have known that he's on his way to work?
Yes, that's why I think she was coming to confront Shanann, and I think she lost her nerve. I think she was going to go knock on that door.
She's not clocked into work.
I was about to say that. Why didn't she clock in?
I don't know.
That's not a I don't think coincidences occur like that. No.
Yeah. I don't think if she drove all the way there, I don't think she's the type to lose her nerve. I think she would have followed through, but anything's possible.
And why did she not clock in? But when you go back to like the beginning of what you were saying, Jen, about like watching them on social media, think about this. And I recently, like in the last week, have just watched this video. You know that video where Shanann she's on a live and she's doing the face mask and she's like, Chris will get it. Chris, come here. Oh, Chris is doing a mask. And she's just like getting him to do this and that which was often. It wasn't just that video, but that one particularly stands out. You can see through Shanann's social media how Chris became such a pushover and a bitch, for a lack of a better word, like easily manipulated, easy to get him to do whatever. In my opinion.
I don't think he became that. I think that's the difference. I think he was already that. I think he was always that. I think he was
always submissive to Shanann. Shanann ran that house, and that's
because
nothing
he was
wrong with
submissive
that.
to his mother.
Well, that's what I mean. Like what he became with a woman, not necessarily with a particular woman, but like what a bitch a woman could make him. You know what I'm saying? Or a pushover or whatever. Yeah.
Yes, he was quite submissive to women. Yes, that's correct.
But Nicole fed on that. Even though she was portraying herself to be the complete opposite of Shanann, in reality, she was worse than Shanann in that instance. She was playing the long game. and she was controlling him, and she was moving those pieces without him even realizing she was.
Yeah.
She's the type of woman that lets you, listen, I don't think that the way that Shanann treated Chris was, their marriage was their marriage. Okay. And I'm not going to get down on Shanann for being strong, because I will say this, there are situations in relationships where somebody has to take the bull by the horns. Somebody has to be in control. And I don't think that Chris wanted to do it. I think he was perfectly happy to sit back and let Shanann call all the shots. And that worked for them until it didn't. I think what you're saying, I agree with, Melissa. I think what makes NK so devious is that she's the type of person that is actually manipulating you and actually controlling you. But the worst part is she makes you think it's your idea.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
That's what she was doing. And I think that that's part of her. And what breaks my heart about it is that it is the MLM. That is what they expected from Shanann, because you're not just selling the product, you're selling the lifestyle. If you take this, or you use this, or you wear this, you can live like this. And that's what she had to portray. Picture perfect, happy all the time life. And that's a lot of pressure to put on somebody. And I think
but that's a choice also, Bendy.
She made the choice. I agree. I don't know that she knew exactly, but what she did was give NK a manual to study.
I think
because
that
she had to be so open.
Wanted exactly what Shanann had, but she advertised it to Chris as, "Oh no, you're living beyond your means. Oh no, you shouldn't be doing that." But really, she looked at what, in her mind, Chris was providing Shanann, and she wanted that for herself. And that's, again, circling back to that manipulation, portraying herself to be everything that he wants, everything Shanann isn't, everything he doesn't have. But in reality, she was trying to get that end goal to be the same thing.
Well, just like Shakto said in the chat, NK was a girl you could have a beer with or ride four-wheelers with. Was she, or was she just pretending to be? You know what I mean?
She pretended to be a guy's girl. That's what that was her image.
I think she was already a guy's girl. I think that she just she just was like, okay, he likes race cars. Let's go to the speedway. You know, like, I think she dug into that part of her. I mean, because there's all the pictures of her from like college, and she's camping and hiking, and she's definitely.
I see that as her being like a hippie, though. Like, I mean, I guess you could be both, because hell, I grew up in West Virginia. Four-wheeling is one of like the funnest things I've ever done in my life, and we used to do it all the time. But you have all these different parts of you, right? Like, you might have the side of you that is more hippie fan and stuff, but to me, like, that's kind of like the way I see her. You know what I mean?
There's okay, but we're not. This is my okay. I'm talking about. There's a difference between a tomboy and a guy's girl. A guy's girl is a woman who has no women friends. She prefers the company of men. Allie, you can ride four-wheelers, you can be all the tomboy that you want and then put your makeup on, but at the heart of who you are, you're a girl's girl. You root for the girls.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So that's the difference.
That's true. What do you guys think
over here?
What are you singing, T?
Girl, put your makeup on. Tell me your favorite song. Go ahead, let your hair down.
Sing it, T.
Usually it's Jen serenading me to sleep.
Usually, and it's some throwed off rap song or something dirty.
I'm actually serenading over here.
You are. I'm just foul.
I agree with Honeybee. She was a pick-me. She was a pick-me girl. So whoever she was around at the time was what she was going to become.
Correct.
She didn't. She's like a chameleon. Julia Roberts, like The Runaway Bride, where she didn't know what kind of eggs she wanted because she always just ate whatever eggs everybody else ate.
Yes.
You ever seen that movie?
Yes.
And so finally, when she decides that she's going to figure out who she is, she like makes all the eggs. Like, that's how I see NK.
Yes.
She's like, I want that, so I'm going to figure out how I need to be to get that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. She's a chameleon. which is why when Hazel comes into the room, the NK's whole facade shifts, because right before that, she's
victim.
I don't know how the phone works. I mean, come on, can you show me?
Yep.
So annoying, right? Then here comes Hazel. Hey, bless Hazel's heart. And this is another thing, NK. You could have scooched for Hazel. You could have, but you didn't. You made poor Hazel squeeze in, and then bless her heart, she had to put her big old knockers on the table, and she was all squished in there. You're so freaking rude, NK. God, I'll never forget that.
Let me read this comment to you guys. I want to hear your reaction. So Vaughn Laverne says, too many coincidences for me. Not checking in, pinging there, not calling or texting CW till afternoon when knowing his wife came home the previous night. She was with him, so she didn't need to text. But we don't have the full records, right? Or
exactly. See, this is the thing. Oh, let me put it up. Who wrote that, Allie? So I can tell me
Vaughn
again.
Laverne, and it's
Okay.
a little ways back, I think.
I'm scrolling.
Not too far, but
okay. Well, talk about something else while I scroll. I can't scroll and talk.
we still have to do our potluck too, like our little topics that.
Oh, yes. We kind of already did that because I already talked about the 35C. Vaughn Laverne says, Teresa, too many coincidences for me. Not clocking in, pinging there, not calling or texting CW till afternoon when knowing his wife came home the previous night. She was with him, so she didn't need to text. That's the comment. And then Allie said,
that makes sense. I missed the last part where it was like, so she was with him. So thinking like NK was with Chris, which is why she doesn't need to call or text.
Correct. She's not blowing his phone up because she knows exactly where he is because she's right there. This is what I will say about that. This is where my issue with having a partial discovery and basing theories on that discovery lies. We don't know the context of some of this information that we've been given because of the way that we've been given this information. And so it's one of those things where if I were to, it's like with the West Memphis 3 case, Jesse confessed. And if I just left it at that, well, then what are you talking about, Jen? He confessed to the crime. He clearly must be guilty, right? But if I don't, and if I just leave it there, you have no idea what that means until I tell you something like, well, this is what Jesse said happened. This is what the autopsy reports show. You see what I'm saying? You need the context of what the ping means, what all that stuff actually means in the context of the investigation. And we don't have that, which is weird to me why they threw out certain things that make people side eye NK while simultaneously keeping things that would appear that they're trying to protect her. It's very odd to me and it bothers me. It gets on my nerves.
Well, that's what makes you think there's nothing that would make her look innocent, and they have to put out some of it.
And how about in the prison interview where he says, I'm hoping that she can find some sort of normalcy since she's on the outside. As if he's saying like she shouldn't be on the outside.
I think Chris is highly manipulative.
Yeah, that too. That's
because when I listened to his prison confession,
it's a lie.
I think that there were a lot of times in there where when they were trying to get to some of the details, some of the more nitty-gritty details, as it were, he was being led. And it isn't because this is just my opinion. I don't know. I wasn't there, but it's my opinion that he took a more passive role and allowed himself to be led and fed the answers because he doesn't want to say the truth. He does not. He's been protecting who he really is, how he really feels, what he really thinks, what kind of monster he really is.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why he doesn't say those things. He could end all of Cindy Watts' suffering by saying, look, Mom, I did it and here's how I did it. As much as that would hurt for her to hear, dragging it out and pretending like there's something else going on, if there isn't something else going on, is actually more painful. It's like ripping a scab off one cell at a time. That's what he's doing. To me, it's incredibly cruel.
You don't think he's actually already told her the truth and that she just doesn't believe him?
I
was
don't
gonna
know.
say,
see
I
that.
think Cindy would love him even if the gory details were made public.
Yeah, I don't think that I don't think it would diminish her love, but it's just
No.
that.
For me, I
There-
think he already told her and she doesn't believe him.
You think so? See,
I could see that.
I can see that as well. But then I can also see there's been times we know that we've heard Chris talk on social media, through interviews and whatnot, as it were, back in the day, where it sounds like when he was talking about the 35C. Do you know what I mean? Remember those conversations that he had where, he seemed like he was on board with it, and
Yeah.
then all of a sudden he wasn't,
Yeah.
So it makes me wonder, what has he told his mom? Really? Is it a situation where he's been honest, open, he's told her what the deal is, and she just cannot accept it? Her brain just can't accept it. Is that what's going on? Or is he keeping her in this constant state of perpetual, what's the word I'm looking for? Purgatory,
Yeah.
acting like there's something else that's happened, and he does sort of deserve to be in there, but he's not the only one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, he does that.
I think it could be a bit of both.
I do
Yeah.
too. And he does that in many ways, by the way, because we my potluck thing was going to be asking you guys what you thought about what Dylan has put out in his books and stuff like that. It's interesting because even if you don't believe a word that he says or that Sherilyn Cadle says at all, we still have his writings that came out through both of them. And I have now the letter that Sherilyn sent Chris to begin with, which is interesting. But we know that he does talk in a way where he alludes to something else. Even if we think about him referring to Nicole as Jezebel, you know what I mean? He does always leave this mysterious, I don't know, it's the way he says things that I swear I think it's probably intentional. Maybe it's just the truth and there is more, that like he told Sherilyn, and we saw it in his writing. Because like I said, you don't have to believe anything she says, because I don't blame anybody who doesn't. But when he says, if you think that there is more to this story, you're right. And how did he say it? I'd have to get the book out. But basically,
Yep, I know what you're
it's off.
talking about.
Yeah, if you think there's more, there is. And something about the FBI, and it's just alluding there's more, and it's worse than what's already out there.
He
Yeah,
plays games like that.
he does. Sick.
Mhm.
And I always believe there's always a little bit of truth in the games. Personally, I think he has said little hints and things of the truth, but
Yes.
ultimately I don't believe a single confession that he's stated so far.
When you say you don't believe a single confession, can you elaborate on that? What
Okay.
is it that you don't believe? It's been
Okay.
60 years. Let's put it all out there.
The first confession obviously is false because Shanann didn't kill the kids.
Right.
Don't believe that one. Second one, the legal confession, signing the plea deal that he did everything himself. I just don't believe that either. And then in prison, he says that, how he covered them with blankets and carried Shanann out, and she defecated on the sheet in the truck. And I don't believe any of that because there was only dirt and drag marks per CBI's report in the discovery on that sheet. He also said her eyes filled with blood in the prison interview, and the autopsy says otherwise. In his first confession, he said that the kids' clothing, which I don't know why he's mentioning them in extra clothing and toys would be found under the fitted sheet at Survey. That was never found. So there's just things that have not aligned with the autopsy or the
What
scene.
about the last
was that?
one, which was the written one with
Yes.
the last?
Anything he says to Cadle, all of a sudden he says her eyes did fill with blood. and that he had to stomp the kids in there. That was totally different than the first confession with Tammy, where he said he held them by the wrist and they fell in very easily, and he didn't have to force them in at all, any problem. So it's like everything has just changed, and I don't believe any of it.
See,
Killing them
I will
twice.
say, right, but I will say,
Yeah, I don't believe that.
in some of those, Amber, if I remember correctly, some of that stuff was suggested, and he just answered in the affirmative. It isn't, and that's my problem with those types of confessions. I find that to be highly, on Chris's part, highly manipulative.
Well, what about with Cadle? Because in that one, it was not, I mean, we could probably pull it up. It's a letter, just
Bust
him
out, babe.
talking. I'll grab it. It's
Okay.
a letter. Let me get my laptop out there so I can share the
All
screen.
right.
But it's a letter, where he's describing what happened. And that's the one where he says that he had to kill them twice.
Yeah, I think that's bullshit. Why would you have to kill them twice?
I think that he did with Bella. I don't think that obviously he didn't kill her twice. I think he thought she was dead.
That's what.
And she wasn't. That's my thought on Bella.
Where did that come from? Like, that's a very creative thing to just make up out of nowhere. I think it could potentially, like, at least with one of them, like you said, Teresa, maybe it is. Maybe there are parts. I'm going to pull it up, though. Give me just a second.
I'm a believer in people leak. So when certain things that Chris actually has said out of his own mouth, not something that was suggested. See, I don't like when you ask somebody in that situation a question and then you give them a multiple choice. Don't, that irritates me. Just let the man answer. He's either going to answer her, he isn't, and that part of it bothered me. I wish they would have just allowed him to speak.
See more of the leading and all that as a blame on CBI than I do Chris being like, he went with it and was like, yeah, sure, I'll go with that, which, that's manipulative too. But I see a lot of it as a fault of the way that Tammy handled the interviews.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the way she handled that interview at the prison. And I just think it's a mistake. I think if you went there to get closure, and that the things that you were told in the quote unquote first confession where he blamed Shanann, there's clear, obvious things in that confession that make zero sense. For example, he interrupted Shanann killing CeCe, but at no time does he talk about offering or trying to give any life-saving measures to her. You stopped her, but you didn't try to revive. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of things in that confession we know are not true, and it doesn't make logical sense. However, I do believe there are some things that Chris Watts has said in either outright directly during some of the confessions or both of the confessions, I should say. And then like in his writing. And I think that he's like anybody else who's a monster in that way, that they leak. And some of the things that he has leaked have been the truth, but not all of it, obviously, because he's highly manipulative. And I think the reason that people sort of don't know how to take Chris Watts is because this seemingly came out of absolutely nowhere. He doesn't have some kind of like crazy past of violence or anything like that. He just went from being this, seemingly decent guy. Yes, he did have an affair and that is wrong. And that makes him not a nice guy, but being a cheater. There's a lot of, that's a far cry from being a murderer, especially a family annihilator, especially of your own children. And I think that's why people are so, and I'm shocked at it too, but I think with Chris, Chris has worked his entire life to cultivate his facade and to have this mask.
Yes.
And people don't see him coming. And that's to me why he is probably one of the more scary guys. So.
Yeah, I think there was, a mask that he wore for a while. And then I don't get the people who don't see this as premeditated. he snapped. Like I get that comment on my documentary all the time. Wow, this guy just snapped. And it's like, no.
No, I think it was built. I think Chris has an incredibly long fuse, but I think that fuse was burning for a long time. And I don't actually think the fuse was lit by Shanann. I think that it was probably a long time ago, probably sometime in his teenage years, and it had nothing to do with Shanann. But that is when the fuse got lit. And I think that he's been seething and angry ever since. And I do think that they had an argument. And I think the fact that Chris won't be honest about even that part of it, an emotional conversation, what the fuck is even that? What does that even mean? Shanann was a strong woman, and I don't think she took any of his bullshit. And I think she confronted him. And I think she said, well, if you think that you're going to bring that tramp around my children, you got another thing coming. And I don't blame her, because I would have said the exact same thing. That's what I think. I don't know why everybody is so quiet all of a sudden, but boom.
Well,
Sorry,
yeah,
I'm trying
I
to
don't
find
know.
our letter here.
Okay.
I see it. It's so like complex in my mind, but I'm curious why you guys don't think the cadaver dog alerted in the house, truck, or garage.
Because I don't think the handler was a good handler. That's why. A cadaver dog is only as good as its handler. And God love Jane, but we all watched that video, and that woman was everywhere.
But she wasn't the only one. The report said so. But there's another dog that they thought that Jane's dog hit in the basement, so they called in the other guy, who's, I think his body cam and stuff has been also suppressed, because they mention him because his dog picks up a living scent in the neighborhood at one point. And I'm like, why don't we ever see any of his like body cam and stuff? But that's another thing.
But I think if they're not,
name.
Well,
but that dog came to confirm the hit that Jane's dog hit on near the bed downstairs.
And did it hit?
No.
Then, but that's why. That's exactly why. Because I love dogs. They're amazing creatures. They are. They represent, to me anyways, unconditional love. And working dogs, the same thing. I just think that by that point, I think there was far too much chaos going on. And the thing is if there had to have been some type of question if they brought in another dog. And if the dog didn't hit, then they're not going to bring it up, because they would have needed both dogs to hit at the same place to say that it was a confirmed hit. And because that didn't happen, then they're not going to mention it. That doesn't mean that Jane's dog was right, and there was a cadaver dog, or there was the scent of decomp there, and the other dog hit, or it could be in reverse. Jane's dog hit incorrectly, and the other dog hit correctly. Do you see what I'm saying? They're only a tool.
Okay, I got it, but it's pretty long. So hold on, let me see. Okay, I'm backstage, Jen.
Okay, babe. All right, here we go.
Okay.
You have been added to the stream. I'll be right back. Hold the fort down. Y'all behave.
So I'll just read it but it is long, so I'll stop along the way. But
okay.
Says, Dear Sherilyn, hello again. I hope you are doing well. It's been awesome being able to talk with you on the phone, but I know the 15-minute time limit is a pain. Sometimes I can get right back on the phone, but right now there are other inmates that like to be on the phone as much as I do, so I respect their time as well. How's your dad doing? I hope you're able to see him. I've been praying on that every day. Yes, that petition really blew my mind that people really want to make me suffer like that. Even if they did ever take my pictures, they can't take my memories. An inmate from another institution wrote me about that subject and said, if they take your pictures, they would need to take the pictures from the other people that have their family pictures up in their cell convicted of the same act. So remember that whenever people found out he had like pictures in his of the kids and stuff. Yeah, and they started that petition. Okay.
Yes.
Do I feel like I should be incarcerated for the act I committed? I most definitely think so. Do I imagine myself ever doing anything like this or being a danger to society? I most definitely think not. If I were to ever be released, I know I would go straight to a ministry and start going to jails and prisons and help inmates. If God led me to be ordained, I would go that route as well, possibly. Even be a chaplain. Maybe the laws will change one day. My attorney team could see I was different and knew that this was a one-time occurrence for me. They even told me that in Europe, the law is I would serve 20 years or so for homicide, and in California, after 25 years on a life sentence, you can be released if you have good behavior. So there's hope for everyone to live outside prison walls. I know physically I'm behind the walls, but my spirit is free with Christ. All right, so I'm just going to go to here where he says, well, actually, let me not skip this because this is the one I was talking about. I was going to skip this paragraph, but he says, if God keeps putting it on your heart that there is more to the story than what the FBI has, you're correct. I don't like saying stuff like that over the phone because I'm never certain when they screen my calls. So that's the part we were talking about. If God keeps putting it on your heart, there's more to the story than what the FBI has. You're correct. Let's see. I know I've already told you about the vision I had before August 13th when I was laying in bed and all the lights were on in the loft and downstairs and I felt so alone. That's exactly what happened August 14th when I was laying in my bed. I'm not sure if I want this in the book or if God does, but here are the things I left out. August 12th. When I finished putting the girls to bed, I walked away and said, that's the last time I'm going to be tucking my babies in. I knew what was going to happen. Oh, the bottom is so hard to read. Let me see. I did nothing to stop it.
But see, even that choice of words, I knew what was going to happen versus I knew what I was about to do. There's nothing I could do to stop it versus there's nothing I could do to stop myself. It's just me.
Yeah, that's true.
Good point.
He says, I took my kids to a birthday party, played water balloons, had an amazing time, sang songs on the way home, gave them both a shower, ate dinner, read bedtime stories, and sang bedtime songs, and still nothing registered. When Shanann had to be somewhere, I always enjoyed taking the girls places or playing outside because it was our opportunity to bond. And still, even the night before, I couldn't stop myself from what I knew would occur the next morning. And that's another time from what I knew I would do the next morning. Excuse me. Right. So August 13th, morning of. I went to the girls' room first before Shanann and I had our argument. Oh, God, you guys, this is awful. So I'm just going to warn you. I went to Bella's room, then CeCe's room, and used a pillow from their bed. That's why the cause of death was smothering. After I left CeCe's room, then I climbed back in bed with Shanann and our argument ensued. After Shanann had passed, Bella and CeCe woke back up. I'm not sure how they woke back up, but they did. It makes the act that much worse knowing I went to their rooms first and knowing I still took their lives at the location. 3. The reason the medical examiner found OxyContin in Shanann's system is because I gave it to her. I thought it would be easier to be with Nicole if Shanann wasn't pregnant. If the world...
Go ahead, Teresa.
I'm gonna pass. I'm gonna pass.
No.
The Oxy? You want me to talk about the Oxy?
Yeah.
Can I
Yes,
just
of
say
course.
none was found in the report, correct?
None is on that part of the report. No.
Before you talk about the Oxy, let me just say this. Going back to what Allie said about the things that Chris says in this letter, when he says there's more to it than what the FBI knows. Of course there is. There always will be. It's like me, I can tell you a story about something that I did today, and there will always be more to the story because these are the details that stood out to me. This is what I wanted to say. This is the story I told. I think that sometimes when we're reading, because we have so many questions, unanswered questions about this, I think that we might have a tendency on some of the things to read a little more into it than what is actually there. And I
Well-
think that what he means by that is very, just like I said, nobody was there. The only people that know what really went on in that home that night are Chris and Shanann, and that's it. You know what I
Well,
mean?
It could have been. I mean, logically, that could be. And also, it could be, hey, there's more to the story, meaning what I'm about to tell you. The girls woke back up. You know what I mean? These things.
Right.
Yeah, like he
So-
brought this up and said,
I don't
Yeah,
think it's
also-
deeper than that. But that's my point. Like, it could mean that. But what I'm saying is, I don't think it means that there's more to the story. Like, more people were involved and more people need to be in prison. He's had so many opportunities. If NK participated at this point, why not just tell on her? It's not going to do anything for you. It doesn't change your charge. It doesn't change where you're at. But stop leaving these like ridiculous little breadcrumbs. Either say what time is it? Either say what the fuck happened or shut the fuck up at this point. That's where I'm at with Chris.
I almost feel like he's not throwing her under the bus completely because he thinks like he's like saving, like still has like feelings
Right.
for her and stuff. So he's
still
like,
in love with her.
yes.
I don't care at
It's
this
like,
point. At this point, I'm gonna wear a t-shirt and I'm just gonna have either say it, either mention it all, or shut the fuck up, Chris Watts. That's it.
Right.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean, it's
I understand.
obviously intentional, right? Like, if you think there's more to I don't know if I want this in the book or not, but
Yeah. hinting
Like,
at it.
Hold on, Allie, just 1 second. There's something going on in the chat. Listen, we're all free to have our opinions here. I encourage everybody to have their own opinion. Saying that Shanann, we're not going to bash Shanann. I don't give a rat's fat kneecap what she did. Nothing she did deserved what happened to her. She did not deserve to have she deserved to have her life taken and buried in the most undignified way that she could be. So no victim blaming, no Shanann bashing, none of that in the chat. If you be respectful, all of you guys, that's it. That's all I had to say.
Yeah.
Please
I
continue.
mean, come on,
Sorry.
this is the 6-year anniversary. We should
Right.
have to have that conversation.
Exactly.
Love you guys, but come on.
Yes, exactly.
Before Teresa talks about the oxy,
I love talking about the oxy. We love talking about the oxy. That always gets me in trouble.
Okay, if you don't want to talk about it, you don't have to. Or you can just say just enough that doesn't get you or me in trouble. How about that?
Okay.
Can I just say, so in this letter, Allie read that he said that he, smothered the girls. In the prison interview, he says he strangled them. And then he describes the manner of smothering with the blanket. So I'm like, what the heck? He's like, strangled them right there in the back seat.
Right. That's why I stopped there for a second and I paused because I was going to ask you guys about that, but then I just kept reading. But
And that's why I don't believe even the things he said to Cato, because I feel like his attempts with Cato were to like backtrack on things that he lied about in the prison interview that people are like scratching their head over.
right. I don't know, you guys. Like, Jen, I think all of your points are absolutely logical, but I just can't. I don't know. There's just something in me.
It's
With
different for me because of the way I came into this case. I didn't come into this case because I saw that porch interview and I thought I did see it, the porch interview, right? But I didn't start researching the case because I saw that porch interview and was compelled to follow it. I followed it here and there, but not with any continuity. My interest in the case came well after everything was all said and done. So it's a little different for me, I think.
Right. That's interesting. Yeah.
I mean, I felt from the minute that he was on that porch doing his sermon, I always thought he was full of crap. Right when he started speaking, but then, and I thought it was horrific and a horrendous case, but I was invested in the 35C part of it. That's what intrigued me. That's what interested me.
You followed the case before that, though, just not in depth.
Exactly.
I mean, like, you knew about it, right? I mean, like,
Yes.
you knew all the stuff.
Yes. But the Watts case has interested me and intrigued me, but it's never gotten me quite like, no other case will ever get me like the West Memphis 3. I let that one in and I learned my lesson, and maybe that's why.
That's how I feel about this case.
That's why I'm removed from it in that way, because I'll never let another case do that to me.
Look at these beautiful babies.
I just can't. It breaks my heart.
Mm, 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 mm.
It just breaks my heart.
The oil tanks. Oh God, he just he comes off so cowardly to me. I feel like he's
He's a bitch.
a coward.
His
Yeah,
appearance changed drastically. Like even at this hearing versus when he's arrested, and then the prison interview in 2019's picture
yeah.
from when he's arrested. Like I know that once you stop working out, you lose that muscle quick, but damn, like everything about him just, I don't know, he changed so much.
Or that new one you posted recently, Amber, which I put in one of my videos about the books, and he has like a skin colored shirt on, and someone left a comment and they were like, "Come on, man, you got to use the shirtless pics of Watts." Like, it's a freaking t-shirt, dude. There is a collar there. Just look a little
beige colored shirt, buddy.
Yeah.
Show naked pics of Watts.
Suddenly his nipples and tattoos are gone.
Right.
Like, that's why
I
all
wouldn't be
the
surprised. Somebody
he
fucking
was-
took him off.
in that live we had talked about like the fan mail or whatever, and they're like said something like, yeah, basically that's what all you people are just I don't know, something like that along those lines, like about the fan mail. But
Remember when the prison interview started and you hear Tammy say, like, you look different.
yeah.
Yes, there are actual crickets. Allie's got crickets in the background. She's outside.
Yeah.
It's part of the ambiance here at the ward. You're welcome.
If this plays the drone footage, it's just like a minute clip. I'll just let it play in the background while we're talking and flip through these pictures. The rest of them. Man. I just remember when I was like watching stuff about this all day, every day, and all the interviews over and over, and like, oh God, it like becomes like part of your soul in a way. Like I don't know. It's crazy.
They are a part. They'll forever be a part of me for sure.
Yeah.
I agree with that. They're embedded.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then like the emotions kind of come back.
Well, and just knowing like when you're watching this right now, like what is actually who's actually here.
Yeah.
Like at the time that this drone footage is taking place. Like what you're truly seeing, you're seeing the outside, but
oh my God, yeah.
That's the bed sheet.
It's just awful.
It's infuriating too to me, like.
And I can understand why there's a part of people, and I think this gets misinterpreted. I think that people misinterpret the constant questioning as if they're looking to get Chris off, as if Chris didn't do it. But I actually think that the questioning is because they want the truth, the whole truth out, because Shanann, Bella and CeCe and Nico deserve to have the whole truth out. They deserve to have their story told. And I think people sometimes misinterpret that. Although I think that's by and large the sentiments of most people. Although I do think there are people who believe that Chris is actually innocent. But those are people that are few and far between. I think most of the people like Amber and you guys on the panel that have questioned things and want the answers, it's because you want their stories. You want people to know what happened to them.
Well, and I'm a big person of true justice cannot occur until you know what happened. And I always use the reference of The Lovely Bones, that movie.
Oh, yeah. That's a good movie.
Right. And it's the moment where, spoiler alert, but it's an old movie, but her body is being pushed in like that safe, and the killer is pushing her down, and she's scrambling on the other side because she knows if her body is not found, her truth's never going to be known. And I always kind of associate it with that. No matter how horrible the truth is, it's still these victims' truth. And in order to truly hold someone accountable for what they did, you have to know what happened to them.
I agree. Their story needs to be told. Right. Shanann, Nico, Bella, and CeCe deserve for their story to be told. I agree with that. Absolutely.
Because I feel like even if you're not religious, energy, goes somewhere. And I hate thinking that they're not, or Shanann, I don't know how children's spirits work really, or all spirits, but is she like not resting because the truth's not out there? I hate like
Right.
that part of me that thinks like, what if that's the case? Like,
Well, I would feel that way. I would, like, as sick and twisted as it is, I'd imagine if I was in that situation, I'd pass, would I be okay with nobody not knowing? I would imagine it would frustrate the hell out of me because I'd want it to be known. Even the smallest little, no, you got that wrong, like, and I don't know if I'm going to be like that on the other side, but I feel like I would want the truth to be known.
Oh my God almighty. I would too. I agree with you guys. No matter how awful it is, it is important
It's
because
their
it's
truth.
the truth.
Yeah.
Oh my God. NK and Chris.
See,
Yeah.
I hesitated. I didn't put her in the thumbnail for a reason. I have to put Chris because he is the person who did this. He's the person who's sitting in prison for this crime. And if we're going to talk about this case, he has to be there. But there's a part of me that feels when I make a thumbnail, if I put NK anywhere on the thumbnail with Shanann and the girls, it's disrespectful to them. And I don't know why I feel like that, but I always worry about that. Is that disrespectful?
I don't
them?
think it is, but I think on the anniversary, it's a nice gesture to not.
Yeah,
put
I
her
just thought it was. And listen, I'm just warning everybody. I'm not saying you can't tell the truth, and I'm not saying that you can't question things. That's not what I'm saying. Just be careful in the way that you do it, please. That's all that I'm asking.
80. I don't think Chris looked happy in Lavelle videos. Let's talk about Thrive for a minute.
Can I just make one comment on that real quick before you go into Thrive?
Yeah.
Because I actually wanted to respond to that too. But so Chris, the beginning of a relationship for anything is always like high-powered energy. People are always happy. So I would say if you're going to compare how Chris looks right now with NK, go back to when he met Shanann. Go back to their wedding. We know we've seen all those photos. He looks incredibly happy with Shanann.
Yeah.
So does he look happy in Lavelle videos? No, I agree with you. He does not. But I mean, you're talking years later, and we don't have years later with NK to see how Chris looks. I mean, technically we can look at him right now, I guess, in his latest mugshots. And does he look happy now?
No.
He looks happier in the Lavelle videos.
Right. And I think there's a component to the Lavelle videos that we don't understand. And that is, yes, Shanann wanted Chris to participate in them because, of course, that's part of the multi-level marketing, is to sell not just the product, but the lifestyle. And Chris does not have the type of personality that he can just improvise. That's why it comes off stiff, and he doesn't want to do it because he's just frankly not good at it. That's how I feel about it anyway. I don't know that I wouldn't, if it were me and the shoe were on the other foot and somebody put a camera in my face, and I'm not knocking Shanann, it's part of her job. Could I improvise? Yeah, but I have a different type of personality than Chris Watts does. Mm-hmm. I would be okay doing it, but he clearly is uncomfortable. I think that's the better word choice. I think it's more about him being uncomfortable, not so much unhappy. Although I'm sure there are pictures of him being unhappy. It's part of the human existence. We're not all happy all the time.
I mean, you get in the life, in the mundane parts of life, doing chores and different things like that. And also, I'd say, like, it's not his interest for me. I don't think he looks happy, but I don't think it means anything. I mean, it's Shanann's thing, and he is kind of just doing what he's told. Like, so I don't know. I don't know. Of course,
he didn't.
What do you think, Allie? What do you think about Thrive then? What do you think about what do you think Thrive played a role in any of this?
So I don't, but I know many people who do, and I've taken it before. I will, like, when I took it, for one, it's so expensive. It's ridiculous. Like $150 a month if you want to do a shake and a pill every day. And, you get like a burst of energy, but that's only for like the first week because you have better nutrition, in my opinion. After that, it's just like I didn't feel anything. But a lot of people think that it did play a role.
See, I think it played like a very minuscule role with Chris, and then also like in general, because all right, so if you look at videos of Shanann from before she does Thrive, there's just a difference in her. Like I can't really explain it completely, but she's just more present, like with the home life and stuff like that. I think that it made her vulnerable for somebody like NK to kind of like see her presence on social media, because Shanann was keeping up with like these live streams and stuff to promote Thrive, going on these trips. I think it like opened the door for someone like NK to kind of like, oh, she's busy with her social media world. Like there was so many people who knew them, and Chris himself, who said that she's always glued into her phone. And like I just feel like it kind of allowed another thing to kind of distract her. And again, it's not really victim blaming, but if we're talking about how Thrive played a role, I just think that on different levels like that, and her like vulnerability and like presence and public image on social media, like, you know, you should keep your stuff locked down. Like you should keep your children private. Having everything
100%.
public for the sake of like the MLM, I think kind of put her in like a vulnerable position. And you know, that allowed NK to see her personality more, like, okay, so how do I mold myself to be different from what she's showing in her live streams? And it was all for the sake of, let me just throw in a Thrive, you know, advertisement here and there. And then I also think that people were questioning Shanann's closeness with another MLM person who was a male. And even if that wasn't true or not, like you look at pictures and stuff from their trip and you're kind of like, why is this guy so close to Shanann? Like, I think that NK could have used that to manipulate Chris too. Like, what's going on here? And the reason why I think that is because Troy, in his interview, in Anthony Brown's interview, he mentioned how Troy said to him, maybe she's met somebody on one of her Thrive trips, like insinuated that Shanann possibly was cheating on Chris. And this is when they were still missing. So that's an Anthony interview.
I remember that too.
So I just think that Thrive, also, I think that it was keeping Chris up. Like he wasn't sleeping, and sleep, as you ladies know, is vital to your mental health and decision making. So I think that there might have been an aspect that was like making him not sleep as much.
So I think it was just the perfect storm, and it wasn't any one specific thing versus how dangerous it can be when collectively the financial burdens, living beyond your means, being unhappy, pose for the camera, you know, like the supplements, weight loss, a new personality, new body, new attention, all of these things that nothing excuses or justifies what happened, versus it wasn't one thing versus everything together. And does Thrive play a role? Maybe, like on a small level. Did it contribute to his mentality where he got? Did it contribute to him not sleeping, combined with him working out, going over the top, becoming addicted to his new body? Sure, absolutely. Lack of sleep is so dangerous. And I talk about that with Letitia's case. You will go into psychosis from lack of sleep. And I'm not saying that's what happened to Chris, versus even getting not enough hours of sleep, not going into REM sleep. I don't know. Like, was he binging with talking to Nikki, and was his lifestyle turned upside down with all of these factors? Did it contribute to why his mindset was the way it was? Yeah, absolutely.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it could have played a role into certain things in their life, but I don't think it's like, oh, because there's a theory, which is like, he was so jacked up, you know, kind of out of his mind.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And I don't think that's
No.
like anything like that.
That's what I'm saying. Not any one thing, versus did it play like a small role,
Yeah.
and did that amp up, and maybe did he get less sleep than normal, and he was going even more crazy in supplements on top of the 95% other that I just named. And then, you know, collectively, Yeah, absolutely. It could have played like a small role, but not on its own, no.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean the actual supplements that he was taking? At first I was like, wait, what? Now I bet it, sorry,
Yeah.
all my synapses
he was
and they
doing the
just all
double
fired.
He was doing the double patches, but not only doing the double patches, his whole diet changed. He was counting the nutrition. He was working out like crazy, not sleeping, not normal.
Yeah.
Then he has the burden of, well, not the burden, but you're having an affair, the stress, the anxiety, the fear, the living outside your means, because they absolutely were. Then smile from the camera before you even walk in the door. All of this collectively over time, and then not sleeping as much. It all contributes, nothing justifies it, nothing excuses it, but it all contributes to try to understand where his mentality was at the time that these murders occurred.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree. I think the only part that plays into this is the requirement of the company, respective to how much social media posts you must make and what they should, that kind of stuff. That is a lot of pressure to put on a person. Listen, kids,
Keep
kids
them
do
at
what
it.
kids want. So and so to ask there to be, you've got to be at least making X amount of videos a week or whatever the requirement was. I feel like in that way, the MLN was, that's a lot of pressure to put on somebody anybody with especially young kids.
Right.
Well,
and
and
that,
it's fake. It's fake.
Right,
It's smile
exactly.
for the camera, pretend that he didn't even pull it. And then again, I'm not, putting it versus you're not even pulling in the driveway yet before I'm recording you as you're walking in the door. You just get done all day with work, and then you have to put on this performance. Nobody acts that happy. But it's not even just with the Watts. This is what we're seeing. Think about how social media has advanced since this case. This is everywhere. These are all of these family vloggers. This is happening nonstop, and I think it's a big issue, honestly.
Yeah.
I agree.
I agree.
Teresa, did you think Thrive played a role?
I think the MLM played a role in the degrading of their marriage, but I also think that the biggest issue is that Chris is a bitch once again. So everything I feel like always comes back down to that, because he didn't know how to communicate. He didn't know how to tell her. Like, I would be very curious. Did he ever say like, hey, like, I really I'm not comfortable with this. Like, I'm not liking it. It's making me, like, my anxiety go up. Like, I'm really not happy. Did he ever just say it? Yeah. Like, for me, I don't think he ever did. I think he just was like, all right, this is what she wants. I'll just do it.
Yeah. Tammy even asked him that. She said, if you wanted to just say, no, you didn't want to do it, and he's like, no, because, that would just upset her, because it was, to help our family.
Right. Oh, here's the nude shirt, or here's the shirtless picture, by the way, that Amber.
I can see the collar. What are they talking about?
I know.
I agree with Melissa on the fact of when you're talking about the actual supplements. I think it does come down to the lack of sleep and putting all of these crazy things into your body. And then you have now him dating NK, who's, micromanaging his food intake. And I mean, there's an exhaustion level that comes along with that, along with the stress of the fact, like, is my wife going to find out I'm cheating? Is my girlfriend going to figure out like that, all this other stuff is happening? But I do think there's something which I didn't really, I've followed true crime like my whole life and never really thought about like the toxicity of specific relationships. Like, I never really saw it, but it just seems that there's these people who, when they get together, it's going to be a bad day. I mean, it's just going to be a bad thing for them to be together. Like with Lori and Chad, I don't think either one of them were going to kill any kids if they hadn't met each other.
Yes.
I don't like Ken and Barbie, like the shit that they did. I mean, there's just like, and I feel like with like Chris and Nicole, like whatever, like their toxicity together created this. And when she's like, I don't want to be the catalyst, I think she knows she was the catalyst.
Oh, wrong way.
Yeah.
So like Amber Ray to me is not a catalyst. She's a mistress.
Right. She's almost a victim too.
Yeah.
Speaking of lack of sleep, remember in NK's notes to law enforcement where she says their sex life wasn't as active as before they were having sex 6 times a day. And then Chris had a hard time performing. I mean, that sort of
You
to
could
me, like
only go
stuff
for
like that
so
goes
long.
to goes to a man's like mental state too, if he's quote unquote having trouble performing.
But if he was thinking these dark, like think, and I know we don't have an accurate timeline, but the timeline that we do have, and from what we can observe, this was a lot of change in a very short period of time. And even though we don't want to sympathize with Chris at all, we can understand and acknowledge that he was going through a lot of stress, even thinking about those dark thoughts, right? We can acknowledge that that would be stressful for him. We don't have to sympathize with it, but that is a lot of stress. And the lying. And I don't believe he cheated on Shanann prior to this. I believe that this was all new, and he was experiencing a different relationship. He was wanted. He was able, again, Nikki made herself everything Shanann wasn't. So he, the same way that he wasn't able to speak up with Shanann and voice his opinions, he was experiencing that with Nikki. And then he's thriving, and then he's calorie counting, and that. So it's go. And I forgot where I was going with that. I was going somewhere with that. But in such
It's a lot in a very short amount of time.
Yes, for in such a short period of time, this was a lot. And I feel like I don't want to say snapped because nothing just, but I don't think that it was the perfect storm. It was the absolute perfect storm. And I think all of it contributed to him not being rational in his judgment making.
You can snap and it still be, there still be an element of premeditation.
Yeah. Like Letitia, I think it was premeditation and snapping at the same time. Right? She thought about it. She clearly thought about it. Yet everything with her action shows you did not think about this whatsoever when you executed this. So there's premeditation and there's a snapping point.
You see, for me, I just think that Letitia Stubbs was fucking psychotic.
Well, she is.
Yeah. See, I think that for Letitia, I think that she planned for to have the children out of their life. Not, I don't think, but still alive. And I think what occurred on that day was more of a snapped situation than she thought she had thoughts to actually end Gannon's life before. That's just me, though. It's possible she thought about it. I don't know.
The night before, she absolutely did because she made the movement. So even if it's a couple, it's you determined, right? Even a few hours before what you were going to do. That's premeditation.
No.
Well, I think she hurt Gannon. She beat him. She beat him to a point where it wasn't going to go well. She thought he would just die on his own. And she probably contemplated, like, what the hell do I do? And then he wouldn't. So she came up with this entire cover story.
Yeah,
because
that's what I'm talking about. Not like thinking like, 2-3 weeks ahead of time. I don't think that the thought of unaliving Gannon was something that she had up until that day that it happened.
Do you think Chris Watts was premeditated?
I think Chris was thinking for a long time about how he was going to have his cake and eat it too. How was he going to have everything? How was he going to no longer stay married to Shanann, be with NK, but also have the girls and the new baby Nico in his life? And that's what I think. I think he was constantly running through if, then, but clauses in his head on how to handle the situation.
Look at him, you guys keep talking, but just look at him here and then hold on.
I think the attempt was made to make Shanann miscarry, and that was the first plan, and to leave her. But it didn't work.
Teresa.
Which part?
You know which part. Don't play.
I think that on my opinion, and it's just my opinion, I think he planned to kill Shanann the entire time. I think it was absolutely premeditated. My thought is that one of the girls, in my opinion, probably Bella, saw what he was doing to Shanann, freaked out, and he hurt her, thought she was dead, so then he killed CeCe, and then Bella wasn't dead. And I think that he absolutely had oxy. So
Yeah.
I think that he gave her potentially even gave the kids oxy to make them sleep.
Couldn't we request her full autopsy? I mean, if
We
they're
will
giving
not
out
get it.
Gannon's pictures,
We
they
won't
wouldn't
get
give
it.
with Shanann. She's
No.
an adult. Why? Why would we be able? Why would people have
Different
gotten?
county.
Florida.
What?
Oh, I know, but no, they got it from the Colorado courthouse.
I got it from Colorado.
Right.
Yeah.
Florida has a policy. So here's the deal. Yes,
I've
the
got crime
autopsy.
scene photos from Florida with kids in them too.
When did you get those?
Well, let me look. I can tell you.
Yeah,
It would have
but-
been
yeah,
probably 2019.
Let me tell you.
Gannon.
Let me look up when they did that law.
They did. They
There's
changed the entire your sunshine law. But
Yeah.
so it was with what was his name? Mike and Casey. You guys remember that? Where he killed her and two of the kids and then kept the kids in the totes in the van.
Yes.
I can't remember his last name for some reason.
I
I
can't
don't
either.
remember that one. But
That was
Gannon's
a bad
were
one.
released by the Colorado courthouse, so they were. It was Florida, but I guess like when you have a trial, everything that goes through the courthouse, that's how a lot of people. So you could request things a couple ways once it's been to trial, because
Yeah.
That's what made me lose all respect for that DA.
He should. I don't appreciate Florida being blamed. I'm not
Yeah,
even from here, but I live here.
He
But
went on and did an interview and blamed Florida for releasing them when
yeah.
it was his office that released them.
absolutely, Florida would never have released those.
Oh, you mean a district attorney lied? No.
I know. I think I had so much respect for him for the way he handled the trial,
Yeah.
the way he took care of Al and Landon, and I just had so much respect for him. And then when I did all my requests and got those, and I was like, okay, well, it's Colorado, like I mean, they're part of it. Just, that happens in Discovery. I've requested a lot of it over my years of doing true crime. I've gotten kids' pics. So I was like, okay. But then when he went on there and tried to blame Florida and just not take any responsibility, I'm like, nobody requested shit from Florida, dude. What are you talking
it's
about?
all about getting reelected to these people.
Yeah.
I have
Can
a
I
question.
say that I don't believe the whole Oxy miscarriage story, because my girlfriend was in a car accident and they prescribed her Oxy, and nothing that I can see even, I mean, say what you will on Google. But
No, I don't think it was for her to miscarry. I think it was
Chris
for her
is
to
an idiot. What was that? I'm sorry.
Chris is an idiot, and there are lots of people who do think, oh yeah, no, if I take that, something could happen. I'm not saying it's a rational thought.
If you just
but-
can Oxy cause miscarriage? It all says no.
No, it doesn't. But I think her point. What Teresa? Did you think like maybe he was trying to take her life with it? Not.
Oh, I
cause
do. I think he was trying to kill her. I think the intent was to kill her. I don't think it was to have her miscarry.
Okay.
Oh, and you have to remember, he did Google it, so he knew. I mean, like you just saying, like if you Google it right now, he knew it wasn't going to cause her a miscarriage.
He Googled Oxy 80.
Yeah, it wasn't for oxytocin. It was for oxycodone or oxycontin. We've gone back and forth on that.
But he never Googled, can it cause miscarriage?
So with everything that's happened with the new owners,
Oh,
And
yes. Let's talk about
with
that.
everything that's come out with that and how bizarre, and do you think that there is something going on with the house? Is there an evil, is this Amityville horror over here where something is taking over
No.
the men?
remember that video of like ghosts and stuff in the house. But let me just say something really quick, because I want y'all to tell me about the new house. But Moon Angel has put it in the chat several times that she knows who NK is and her name. And I know that one of the mods had asked her just to email someone, not to put it in the chat, which regardless, I just want to say this. There is a name that is going around on social media right now in a couple places. That's not her. That woman that they're saying is her is not her. So I just want you
I'd
guys.
be curious of this name.
We saw her outside the supermarket. Just Larry proved it with the billboard.
Oh my God.
Ooh, we saw
Remember
her.
what I said about that? Remember my comment? Because AD asked me about that. And
Going
I
back to the
said,
old
man,
school.
I don't know if that's her or not. But I will say this: congratulations on your new ghetto thickness, NK. Because
She had
her
a
booty
big
was
old booty. Yeah.
definitely
There's
more
that other photo of the
badonk.
girl like working out or dancing or whatever, and people think that's her. I just saw that come back up recently again, and I'm like,
Yeah.
no, that was discounted years ago.
Yeah.
I know, Natasha. I was just
The
joking.
name that they're saying is her is literally a real person that is not her at all, and
Oh, okay.
somewhat like her, but it's not her. And I'll send it to you later. Amber knows because when I saw it, I messaged Amber.
Is it the girl dancing or whatever, or working out, whatever she was doing?
No, it's a name of some woman in Canada that people are
Andy something.
saying.
Wasn't
Okay.
Andy in the name or something like that?
Yeah, something like that. I don't remember exactly, but I'll find it and send it to you, Teresa.
Well, I would like Moon Angel. If Moon Angel can email one of us, I would appreciate that. I'd love to hear the name.
Yeah, I mean, Neat Noodle put my email in the chat. It's just Blind Justice Podcast, all one word, at gmail.com.
Yeah.
Just email me.
I think that's the same person who was actually talking about these berries, and I don't think we've talked about that on this live tonight, about the drinks that NK was giving Chris.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, that kind of fits in with the house topic. Like, is there what do y'all think about that? Like a supernatural aspect or some kind of witchcraft magic, some kind of drugging, any of that stuff? Because all of those have went around.
No, I'm gonna get in trouble on the new couple, because I'm gonna tell you right now, just watching the body cams from that, if I caught my husband kissing some dude on our security camera, a broken wine glass is gonna be the least of his worries.
See, that I am on the same page as Teresa. Like, we talked about it privately, and I couldn't have agreed with her more.
So you're saying that it's just circumstance. It has nothing to do with the environment.
Okay, I'm gonna get in trouble for this whole conversation. I can already feel it coming. Okay, so there's certain types of people who follow cases like this and then decide that they want to go and buy the house of the case that they followed. There's something there, and I don't know this person. I don't know her personally, so I don't want to talk shit. But there's something to it. You'd think this husband was like, let's go buy the Watts house. That would be a great idea. You know, we've got 2.5 kids, or essentially 3 kids at the time. Like, let's go do it. No, it's a wife thing. She wanted the house. He gives her what she wants. They've been married for over 12 years. He sees her on the camera kissing some chick from work who she says she was not kissing. And he goes and knocks the wine glass out of her hand. So she says that she now has a cut on her hand, but she also says that she and her husband were cleaning up the wine glass. So don't know if the wine glass being hit cut her or if her cleaning up the glass cut her. But I mean, she then proceeds to say, I don't know if you guys have watched all of this or not yet, but she then proceeds to say something along the lines of, I don't like girls. I wish I liked girls. But this isn't the first time we've had this issue. Like, there's obviously something in their history of either cheating or her liking women. I don't know which one it is. But to me, I'm like, he didn't hit her. He knocked the wine glass out of her hand.
Yeah, I could see.
Your significant other, you walk in and they're cheating on you. I mean, there's something to it when people have actually gone in and actually unalived their partners while they're caught cheating. There's a heat of the passion that comes along with that crime. And I'm saying, like, this guy just goes and knocks the wine glass out of her hand. Like, you got to stop fucking drinking because this is ridiculous.
Texas has that law where, or I don't know what it is, where if it is like a crime that takes place like that, like in the passion of the heat of the moment, and specifically an example would be like catching your significant other cheating, like it's seen as like less severe.
Yeah, the charge. Yeah, they can charge you with something less than like first degree.
Yeah, and it's not like that in every state, but like Teresa, I mean, I'm not saying that my husband would do anything to me that would be worse, but like knocking the wine glass out of my hand, like I could see him tearing up the whole house. Like, I mean, you just got caught cheating.
Yeah.
And he's had incidences before that she admitted, like Teresa said, where like she had to, I don't even like women, and we've had these problems before with me and women. Like, what?
See, I didn't watch it, so I'm lost.
You gotta watch it. It's kind of long, but you gotta watch it. So Plunder put up all the videos in her Patreon, like, so you can watch the entirety. But then she also did a video, kind of cutting out some of the important pieces and getting rid of like the overlap. When you have like two cops standing there, same conversation. So she takes all that out and does like it's like a little over an hour. But to me, I was like, I don't know, domestic violence. But then True Psych Ward said it in chat that this was the second time they were called to the house. I don't actually know that. I don't remember if there was another one. Maybe that might lead me in a different direction. But right now, that's the only one I know of. And I was like, I don't know. What are you doing, kissing some chick while you have you have cameras right there?
Yeah, that doesn't seem smart. But I'll say this. Okay, so as far as everything goes with the wine glass, should he have knocked it out of her hand? No. Obviously, we learned in kindergarten to keep our hands, feet, and all objects to ourselves. It was wrong for him to do that. The interesting part of comparing the Watts house to the Amityville house is that in this situation, they would be the second family that lived there after the first family, right? So this second family, the Millers, would essentially be the Lutz family, and the Watts would be the DeFeo.
Set it up too.
Okay.
It was all a setup.
So, according to a lot of things, including Ronnie DeFeo, but Ronnie, you got who is Junior, who is the one who ultimately was charged and convicted of killing his family. He says that in an effort to get money to pay for his lawyer for his trial, he sold the home to the Lutz family, and that they had a deal worked out between his lawyer himself and the Lutz family to concoct this story. And that's what that's one of the stories that he has told.
Mhm.
Wait, in
Now-
order for it to come across like there's something going on with the house.
Correct.
Economic presence. Yeah.
Correct.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised when Chris has something like that when he's talking about that he sees the demons in the corner.
Right.
Well, I
Exactly.
found it weird that this family, wife, husband, 2 girls, a son sitting in that kitchen, yet they almost immediately stopped making payments, right? It went to bankrupt. Why would you buy a house and not be able to afford those payments? That was peculiar to me.
Yeah, it was in pre-foreclosure a couple months. Well, when this
Right.
broke,
Right.
that's-
They're already
almost
in
immediately you
financial
stop paying.
distress again.
Right.
Yeah.
Which means, they filled out all the paperwork. They qualified for the home. They bought the home. They closed on the home, and they haven't even been in the home a year. So that means if they're already in like pre-foreclosure, they've
stopped.
never made a house payment,
Exactly. So that's why I'm like,
which
Well, don't
makes
they
you
own
wonder.
another house?
I don't know.
Somebody correct
I
me if
don't
I'm
know
wrong.
what their deal is, but my point with the whole
Yes,
comparing it to
yes.
Amityville is that the Lutz family was accused of making all of it up, that it was
Right.
all a hoax. However, one of the Lutz one of the sons came out and said, absolutely not. It's 100% true. Then you have Ed and Lorraine
Warren,
who
it's the
say
most
that
demonic place they've ever been.
exactly. So who knows? What do I think happened with the Watts house? This is what I'll say. This is my own personal belief. When people, like all of us, are comprised of energy, okay? And I do think that there's something to be said for something violent occurring in a place and it leaving an imprint on the home, meaning there's
100%.
probably some bad energy in that place. Do I think that that is what caused what ultimately ended up happening? No, I don't, because there's too many other shady, weird stuff that's going on. For example, not being there already, having only been there less than a year or right at a year, and they are already in foreclosure. which makes you wonder why'd they get the house in the first place if they were never going to pay on it. It almost seems like contrived and set up. So even if there is bad juju in that home, it hasn't. I don't believe it had any bearing on what happened to the Miller family. That's my point.
But
I do think there's bad juju in that house,
right?
Exactly.
But comes out and she speaks about right. I don't like it.
I think I will say this. I don't know that. I don't like it either. I don't know if the Miller stuff was staged. Did it? I mean, it absolutely happened, but I think that a bigger deal is being made out of what happened because of the similarities to Shanann and Chris with with it being, a wife and a husband and, 2 daughters and a son. I think that's why it's being made into something bigger than it is. I think what happened.
Right. It's also interesting because the cops are walking up to the house, the one says to the other, "Isn't this the old Watts house?"
Oh my God.
What do you guys think about the supernatural aspect in the Watts case with NK and with the drinks and all that kind of stuff? All of that's like a mashup.
Oh, NK and her rocks.
Yeah.
Playing with them wrong and causing all kinds of havoc.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not only that, we know that she used to have that business. We know that she's into a more spiritual way of living and religion, which doesn't mean evil at all. But, it has caused a lot of theories. And then we also have these mysterious drinks and what was on top of the fridge. So, yeah, what do y'all think about that?
Well, let's go around the table. Who wants to start?
I would add the stuff with whatever she's giving him in the drinks to the same conversation we were having earlier where I was piggybacking off Melissa Jade, talking about everything that's going into his body and what isn't, and the lack of sleep, and just adding all of these weird things to your body and what they're going to do when they start to combine. I don't even know if it's something you could recreate.
Right.
I don't either.
So I think I think it all played a role. That's my opinion. I think it all played a role. Do I think it was a spiritual thing? I mean, I don't know. I never bothered to check to see like what the land was that they built these houses on. What other crime is in that area? What is there anything else crazy in that neighborhood that all these houses were built on for the subdivision? Is there like an Indian burial ground kind of thing? They always talk about like all the spooky shit that happens.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I don't know. I never looked that far into it. But so like, is there some type of presence in the house that was already there? I'm a believer in ghosts. So I had one when I had one with my friend when I was little.
Oh wow. Yeah, I'm a believer too. But
I mean, technically in Colorado it'd be very difficult. It's not just about it being a Native American burial ground. If we're really going to get into it, let's get into it. The Native Americans, many, many tribes had land before all the way before anybody else was here that they considered uninhabitable. Mm-hmm. And so what they did was when they had, basically they would banish evil spirits to one section, and it's all over the country, but just one area. But they never lived there. They wouldn't hunt there. It was just land that was never meant to be inhabited. Of course, when the Pilgrims came over and then, the United States happened, it isn't like, that they gave us a map, right? Or not us, because I came from Mexico. So my people were indigenous too. But it's not like they gave the Pilgrims a map that said, hey, don't build here, here, or here, because this is where we keep all the bad juju. That didn't happen. So so technically it could be that neighborhood, it rests or is built on top of land that was at one point considered by the Native Americans uninhabitable. That's a possibility. There's a lot of other possibilities too. They say that when you have a neighborhood that has too many power lines, but also is near some type of water source, that the electricity and the water also creates some paranormal shenanigans, like a door and stuff like that. There's all kinds of stuff that could possibly have happened to that land. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, then you have the other spiritual aspect of, you know, well, you even have the topic of Freemasonry that comes up with some people who get, or like Amber had talked about previously, which isn't the same at all, but kind of falls into this conspiracy realm, the terrorism, eco-terrorism. But yeah, what do you guys think, Amber and Melissa, about the...
Well, I totally cut Melissa off. So Melissa, please go first before Amber. I'm sorry I cut you off, babe.
When?
When you were when I was telling my whole Native American story.
Oh, I don't think I said anything.
Yeah, it was
Okay. Oh, did I cut whoever I feel like I cut somebody off.
Wait, what did I say?
I'm already,
I
listen,
think I did.
it must be this Catholic guilt because I'm just going around apologizing to everybody all the time.
Well, no, I don't. I kind of think the same thing. I don't think it's a major question if NK was indeed giving him drinks that contained anything, and that doesn't have to consist of a hardcore drug. You could overdose on vitamin C. Everything you are putting into your body absolutely has an effect and an impact, and it's important to know what was in it if he indeed was drinking it, and could it have played a role? Sure, but I'm sure it would circle back around to what I said earlier. Would it be the actual reason behind his actions? No. Versus could it have played an impact collectively with everything? Absolutely, depending on what was in it. But we could sit here all day and speculate. We really don't know if he was drinking anything with anything in it or not.
Right.
Excellent.
Yeah.
point.
I agree with Melissa about the drinks. Like, we don't even know if they truly are existed.
Right.
But I don't think the house is haunted. I do think that everything that NK kind of portrayed herself as was like, you know, this amazing, like, oh, I do yoga and this is the company I run and these are the crystals I collect. Because remember, he was like Googling all this stuff about crystals and some place in Peru. She's got that picture of that place in Peru where, like, I mean, there was like human sacrifices there, and there's like a whole deep dive into, like, you know, the places that she even traveled to that have like interesting backgrounds. And let's see what else about NK and her spirituality. I just think that she the Dead Sea Scrolls. Remember, she goes to see that IMAX movie and it's about the Dead Sea Scrolls. So I think that, like,
But that's just fascinating.
Yeah, but in collection with everything else, I think it
Yeah,
was like a means to be like, you know, this is what I'm into and this is how I live. And him being such a follower, I think he was just like engulfed by like everything about her. Like, and look, she's got this like faith and spirituality about her. She's just so like amazing. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And yeah, exactly. And because even Coder says, he's like, so she's like a different type of girl, huh? And Chris was like, yeah. And like, I just think that she used it as like a means to like pull him in and manipulate him. Like,
agreed,
you can be a part of this too. And look how I live. And
Serious kind of
doing things with your MLM wife is just wrong and fake. And, you know, it was just like a means to kind of draw him in and control him. And he's such a spineless follower that he just saw it as like, okay, yeah. And if she was like making him concoctions or even on the level of like slipping him LSD or something, you know what I mean? Like, she could have used it as like, this is all a part of a ritual and this and that, you know, take this or do this drug with me. You know, I think that there was drugs involved, even though we have like no evidence of it.
That little disclaimer at the end just took me out.
Me too. But I wish,
like, if you see him in the North Carolina, when he's in North Carolina at the beach, he looks completely like emaciated. There's like a picture that Shanann took of him and he's like falling asleep with his glasses on. Like, he just looks like drained and like, and that was right after they went to the sand dunes. Well, I don't know.
I don't know either. I think it's all interesting. And if let's say that NK I mean, she did do all, I mean, she did travel to these places and whatnot, but if she were dabbling, as it were, in crystals and did something wrong, who knows what she could have. I mean, I do believe that that stuff exists. And I do
does.
believe that you need to be very careful when you're doing those types of things, that you know exactly what it is that you are doing, because you can invite things that you don't actually want around you. And
Mhm.
boom, before you know it, there you go. You've got a dark passenger.
Yep.
So there
it
you go.
attaches.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Um,
I think that, like, oh, I'm sorry, Melissa, just real quick, that
I was
the
good.
whole like personality thing would kind of make her almost like mesmerizing to him, kind of different, something unique he's not experienced before. So I can kind of see like how she would play that up.
I just want to know if NK still has that bald patch.
She does.
Does she?
I'm
It's a
curious if that bald patch was a cause of many issues and conspiracies.
The only thing I ever said about it was it's a great example of why you need to have a safe word. Because the things that, you know, you turn around, things get out of hand and you don't have a safe word, you're going to wind up with a bald patch like NK. That's the only thing.
I'm gonna hop down into chat because I have to be up in a couple hours. But thank you so
Oh,
much.
wow.
It's been lovely discussing this, and I don't think they're ever gonna release anything. And I think it's gonna, because I think that there's something that they're covering up, and it's not so much necessarily the murders, but it could have something to do with the companies. And if one is exposed, the other one goes hand in hand. And I think that we're never going to find out. Even if Chris eventually tells the truth, similar to Letitia, you wouldn't know. You don't know, right? So unless we have the actual evidence to back it up, we'll never know.
Yeah, I agree. And that's a good point, because even, when you look into deeply the politics, even Anadarko, they have donated. Yeah, they've donated millions to the Republican and Democratic parties in Colorado.
Mm-hmm. So much power. And that's another aspect in this like perfect storm, is the oil company being involved.
Yep. More power than you realize.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks for coming up, MJ.
Thanks for having me.
All
right, I'll be in
chat. Okay, babe. Bye. Do you think we covered everything, girls? Is there more that you wanted to go? No, there's never. I mean, it's always going to be, there's always going to be stuff. There will always be questions, I think. I actually think that even if we were to get our hands on the parts of the discovery that we want, if they said, here, fine, just take it. Right. I think then we would be like, okay, now we've got this piece. Now we want this, that, and the other. Like, I don't think that, I don't know that we'd ever be completely satisfied with the answers that we got, because at the end of the day, the truth of the matter really is what happened to Shanann, Nico, Bella, and CeCe makes no sense. And it's not supposed to make sense. We're trying to rationalize something that's irrational. Murder on its face is typically an irrational act. Anybody that was thinking clear-headed would realize this is not the way.
Yeah.
So for us to try to make sense of it would be very difficult. I just wish there were some more answers to some stuff.
I agree. There's always going to be more questions, and we could probably go on for hours more about different parts of this, honestly. But I think that, I think we could get some answers that could tell us a lot. But as I do agree with you that no matter what, there's usually always questions.
Even if we did, let's say for just argument's sake, a perfect world, right? We could give something to Chris that we knew would be absolutely 100% guaranteed to make him tell the 100% gospel truth. He could not tell a lie. Like if he was liar for one day, like Jim Carrey couldn't lie. I don't think we would. I think we think we want the truth. But I think when we do I think if we were to get the truth out of his mouth, I think it would actually mess us up more. Honestly. I
Is
don't
there
know.
something in particular that you think happened that he hasn't told us?
I think that, yeah, I think that when he talks about what happened that night, how it all started, I don't think he's being honest about that. And but what I mean is, I think that I think he's downplayed some of the some of the things that happened with actually taking Shanann's life, actually taking Bella's and CeCe's life, and I think that there's far more details. And if we were to be asked why, I don't think we would. I think we would be thrown off by the answer we got.
Mm.
Not because mostly because whatever reason he gives is never going to justify it, because there is no justification. And it's probably going to be something, in my opinion, I think we already know the answer, but to hear it from his mouth it's just going to piss us off all over again.
Yeah, I don't think that no one would you can't believe Roro said this, but it's so true. It's just like with Letitia. It's at the point where even if they did come out and even take a truth serum, you still couldn't believe them, even if you knew for sure that it was like one that worked. So, unless we can get more evidence that's black and white, I think that's the only way to get more answers.
Right. I wish that they would have given over that discovery in a way that makes sense. I wish that they would have, like, some of the stuff that they left in versus what they decided we couldn't see. It's like they just laid out the discovery on the floor and threw darts. It doesn't make really any sense.
Imagine if they would have done like, and Teresa, I haven't got to talk to you at all about this yet, but imagine if they would have done like in the Doberman case where they have a press conference and kind of outline and walk you through everything. Even that little bit would help.
Well, that was a huge mistake on their part, because they didn't bother, like Rourke didn't bother to make sure that was part of the plea deal, that he would have had to have gone through and tell exactly what happened and be honest about it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I've never been able to really kind of get over that. Like, I don't know, how do you have somebody plead guilty and not actually tell you what happened?
Yeah.
Exactly. I agree with you, Teresa. I think that in cases of murder, and somebody is going to take a plea deal, I think that they should have to testify to what it is that they did. I think that should be mandatory.
I even heard Vinnie Politan talk about something similar and pretty much say, like, as a prosecutor, like, it's dishonest not to carry it out the way that Teresa said. Like, you know, how do you close this all up and not get the truth or stuff that leads mostly to the truth of the plea deal?
Right.
But I did want to say, I shouldn't have said we have no evidence of drug use, because NK called a rehab center after the Sand Dune trip. He Googles Oxy 80.
Yeah, that's true. And I do remember the stuff about the rehab being called. I'm curious about that. I'm still curious about that.
I think that my opinion on that is that it was her friends. They owned it.
Oh.
Interesting.
Now, how did she meet them? That could have been through the rehab. I don't know.
And plus, he had a previous charge of a DUI.
Correct.
So there is a history of
Something.
Use. And I just think that in addition to this, sex and all that, like, there's a lot of people who think meth was even used. I just used LSD as an example, because that was the way that, Manson kind of controlled his crew.
Right. Well, meth is like a very sexual drug. Like, when you do it, you experience, and not to be like graphic or anything, but you experience like like instead of finishing one time and having one big moment, you experience it like 10 times instead and way more intense. It is a very sexual drug.
We don't recommend it over here at the ward. Just say no.
Me neither. I don't recommend it, but I'm just saying.
No, I've heard it's very prevalent too in that area, like Colorado and all over there.
Yeah.
I know it's prevalent like North Carolina wise.
I think it's prevalent everywhere, you guys.
Not, it's actually
Not here.
It's not the number one here. No,
Yeah.
it's not. It's weird because I know from living in the Midwest versus here, just the people that worked with me and the amount of meth users, and then what we had to do for security purposes with items that made meth was very different when I worked in the Midwest versus when I worked on the West Coast. It's just,
Gotcha.
I mean, don't get me wrong, there's still a lot of drugs. It's just that one's not one of the number ones for some reason.
I don't think where I'm at, it's like, but I live in the middle of damn nowhere in North Carolina near the shore, but like probably in the cities and stuff. And in West Virginia, it wasn't either, but it still was around, like oxys and stuff was. But regardless, I know for sure that it's known in the drug world and with people that use to be something that's used in sexual ways. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, I think
I live in Florida. It's safe to say it's prevalent here.
everything's prevalent in Florida.
It's because we don't have weather. It's not our fault.
I think in certain, from what I know from people, is they thought that they were being sold ecstasy, and then they questioned like if it was cut with meth. Like those are the only times that I think it's ever like circulated around like people like that I know, at least around like New York and stuff. But
well, I guess we should end it. What do you think, girls?
Yeah.
I know there's just so much to talk about with Watts. It's like literally a never-ending case. But I'll tell you guys, I don't talk about this case anymore. You guys are the only way I would ever talk about this case is this panel right here.
So excited.
Yeah, me too. I met so many really great and cool, wonderful people through being on that jacked up ass island.
Yes.
But I don't want to go back.
Never.
Well, I don't mind talking about it. I honestly want to look at it again at this point and refresh my memory with everything. But I'm really glad that you guys did because it was super interesting.
I'm glad that and I want to thank you guys for agreeing to do this panel too. Like, I appreciate that. I don't usually reach out. I've missed you guys too. There's been a lot of stuff going on in these true crime in the true crime world that we haven't had an opportunity at all to talk about. We've got Leilani Simon. She's coming up October 7th or 10th. Who?
Sarah Boone.
Oh yeah, Sarah Boone, my pal Boone.
Yeah,
she is on track to start trial October 7th.
How are you going to pull off Leilani and Sarah Boone?
I just won't sleep. I have to cut out the afternoon nap, Teresa. There's nothing else I can do.
Well, Leilani's not going to be streamed.
I don't know.
As far as I
haven't heard anything.
For me, I'm going to do mainly Leilani and do Sarah Boone with Amber and Jen and Melissa or anybody else who covers it because I'm so invested in Leilani. But Teresa, what do you think about the Doberman plea and everything? Because you and I talked so much about that.
I'm happy that I know I was going to do a live last week on it too, and my whole life got kind of turned over. So I'm glad that he took the plea. I'm glad for his wife and the stepdaughter. I think that what he's already done to them is so traumatic. I'm glad he took the plea, and but I think that it's very different than like the Watts case because we already had a very good idea of how everything went down, and they did go and do that press conference, which was very nicely done and just laid it all. I mean, even though it's just so traumatic, but they gave us all the details of everything that unfolded and how it happened. Like I said, we pretty much knew already, and I just think that it's better. I think it's better that that is something I don't feel like needed to go to trial. He knew he did it. He was gonna, he was gonna work towards like some type of insanity, but I don't think he was, and I think they were gonna. I mean, he was going for death, so
Yep, I agree. Well, if you do want to do a live, did you get the presentation? Because if you didn't, I have it downloaded on the computer.
Oh no, if you'd send it to me, that'd be great. I have the press conference itself, but I don't think I have the actual presentation. I didn't grab that.
Yeah, I just emailed the same person we had before, and asked them to send me what they could, and they sent me a link directly to it, and it's a lot better because you get the audio so much more clear. And Teresa, I'm gonna warn you.
Did you get the Okay, so they gave you, so that has like the 911 calls and stuff on it. I did email her last week, and she said that she was in receipt of my email and would get back to me. So I don't think I heard back from her today.
Well, the 911 calls are on there, but only clips of the interviews. They didn't put the full interview, but I'll tell you this, the full 911 calls were not played. I did not and would not play it on my channel. It's horrific. I'm going to warn you beforehand. Oh my God, it's so bad.
Okay.
But yeah, so you've already watched it, but you want to do something. I'd be down to do something with that. And the other one that's coming up too is Corey Richens.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I want to follow hers too closer.
I want to follow hers because she's an interesting.
She is an interesting. Yeah, she's an interesting something or other. Huh?
She reminds me a lot of like a Letitia Stout.
Mm-hmm.
Reminds me of Jodi Arias.
Oh yeah, that too.
Yeah. I mean, I guess they're all kind of the same but different,
That's true.
And
so that's not this year though, because they pushed it. They're trying to get Lori Vallow for the Charles Vallow case pushed to 2025. I'm trying to think of the other big ones. Larry Maletti for Maya Maletti, that's in 2025.
What's her name?
Mary Chris.
What?
Mary Chris?
No. Her crime was committed during COVID. What? Megan Boswell.
Oh, that's 2025.
2025. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there's some big ones that are coming up even for next year, but we also have Courtney Clenny. That one should be coming soon.
Yep.
I still don't have any idea what's going on with Leila Cavitt's case.
Oh my God.
I can't find a new trial date for that. I don't know if anybody has seen that or not. That's out of Florida, Jen.
Is it? I have to look that up.
I did a video, a pre-recorded video on it, so you can learn all about it.
All right. Well, yeah. If I was going to watch a video to learn all about a case, it would definitely be your video because you're very thorough, and I love your work. You know that I do. So, Carolina, to answer you, Sarah Boone has a hearing tomorrow afternoon at 1:30, her evidentiary hearing, and she doesn't want the media present. It's not her evidentiary hearing. So what this is she is upset regarding the way the USB drive is being handled. She does not want the USB drive handed to her out of the plastic bag. She wants to be handed the plastic bag. She doesn't trust the jail. So that's that part. Then she does not want the media at her actual evidentiary hearing when that occurs. So they're going to discuss that too. So they got some stuff to discuss, but it's not the evidentiary hearing. And I think that's the judge is going to be ready by tomorrow to make a ruling on media being kept out of her evidentiary hearing, because really they're going to show her the physical evidence. And typically this wouldn't take place in a courtroom. This would be down at the sheriff's office. But since she can't go, this is how they're going to do it. And I do think that it should be outside of the presence of the public. Let her look at what there is. Let's try as much as we can, even though she's tried so many times to mess it up, let's get this show on the road and give her every chance at a fair trial. So that's what I think anyways. She irritates me so much. Tracy, Teresa's channel is Criminality. Let me get the link for you guys.
I don't know how I missed Richard Allen. His trial's in October.
Oh God. How did we forget that?
I don't even know how I missed that one. You got Koberger in 2025 too. I'm like, duh, Richard Allen.
Yeah, if you guys click on Criminality in the title, you can get the link. You'll go straight to her channel. So Jen has it where it's highlighted in blue. Just click her name.
I'll put it right here in the chat too.
Hey, Alex, any update on with Lyric and Devin's case?
No, and you know what? Well, let me just do a quick search because it's been about a month and a half or 2 months since I last searched. And that the last thing that came out was they said who was shot where, how many times. Devin was shot in the bottom of the foot. He was literally shot running away. It just
Bless his heart.
oh, I know. And then no, there's been nothing. Let me do a search though.
So
I
I
wondered if they were doing a plea deal or something, and that's why we hadn't heard anything. Go ahead, Jen. Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, just for the chat, I put Criminalities channel link and ATS News in the chat for you guys. Go subscribe over there.
So
They're
the
good girls.
last thing that came
Thank
out
you.
was in November, and November of 2023, and
That's the last.
yeah. That's the last thing I could find. I need to look up the court case, like if I can. But as far as making any news, and I would think a plea would make the news, but it says new details revealed in death of Orange County teen Lyric Woods from autopsy report. And that is basically when we learned where they were, shot and that kind of stuff. Like I said, shot in the foot. And there was a few other little things like it wasn't like a love triangle thing. Lyric didn't even know Isaiah, who was the shooter.
So he was just after Devin?
I guess. But I mean, we're still waiting on details to come out. But yeah, that came out, and then I'll find the article and send it to you. And I just now sent you the link to the presentation.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Wow.
Clark was shot 6 times.
Oh.
Oh my God. And one, like I said, he was running away. At a hearing in January, Orange County prosecutors shared evidence that Ross shot Woods and Clark as they were running away. The motive behind the killings remains unknown. He is awaiting his next court date. It doesn't even say when that is. And
The chat wants to know, Allie, what case is this, babe?
Lyric Woods and Devin Clark. I have a couple videos on it. It's actually not far from me. I went to the crime scene and stuff with Tia and LFT and Incognito Gypsy. It was 2 teenagers. Lyric was 14. Devin was 18. The killer was 17. It has changed laws. That's another thing. That's some news. And Lyric was shot 7 times. But there was a law that was changed because the killer was 17 years old, and because of that they couldn't put his face out or anything as being wanted for this, so they were searching for him, and now they've changed the laws where if that was to happen again they could.
Oh wow.
But yeah, it's a really, really sad case. You guys should look at it, and if there is an update, I'll definitely cover it. I want love to go to the trial. There's no one, like, it's really not talked about much at all. You can't.
No, it isn't. Hardly anybody is talking about it. You're right.
My computer's about to die, and I don't have any of my stuff out here.
So my kids go back to school tomorrow. So tonight is like back to school, right?
Nice.
I hate my kids going back to school. I like having them here with me.
Me too. I was like that too. Parents, people say, it's summer vacation. You got the kids. I liked it. It's harder for them to go to school.
No, I'm actually not.
Yeah.
I've tried to get them to let me homeschool them for years. They all tell me no.
Yeah, I feel
my
like
kids
I'm going to
need
be
a
the
break
same
too.
way.
My kids need a break. My son threatens all the time. One of these days he said, I'm going to go on YouTube and I'm going to tell your friends all about you, about how crazy you are and how they think you're so much fun and everything. And you are. You can be funny, but you're fun and everything in a small dose. Try living with you. And I was like, please.
I would totally do it. I would totally live with you, Jen Lou.
See, a lot of people would. A lot of people would. But that's, he just gives me a hard time.
I get fucking naps every day. I'm in.
Naps every day.
And let me tell you something. The naps are scheduled, and that is the nap time. It does not 1:59, not 12:01 or 2:01. 2 o'clock to
Yes,
4
4.
o'clock. The
Every
end.
day. That is so true. Every day. I don't even like. I will message, but I know I'm not getting a
Oh
response.
my God, I'll hear back from her later. She's napping. It's nap
Yeah.
time.
I have
That's
to. I
hilarious.
don't.
Today is also my oldest child's 16th birthday.
Oh, happy birthday!
Oh, wow.
It's a
So-
big milestone.
It is. You know what he wanted to do for his birthday?
Drive.
No, be left alone and just be able to do whatever he wanted to do on his own.
That's what I want every year for my birthday. I like this kid.
That's
He sounds-
awesome. Yeah.
I love it.
So I'm like, okay, so I have no obligations to you, like for your birthday. like
Right.
we did. One of the times I left here though, we went in and we had Oreo ice cream cake. So
Oh, yum.
that was good stuff. So I did that while I was on the live. So we celebrated over the weekend. So he's just like, yeah, no, on my birthday, I want my dad to make me wings, and I just want to not do anything but whatever I choose to do. Like, don't just like leave me alone. Essentially, I'm like,
That's the best
Right.
birthday, though. I don't blame him. Sounds like a fantastic birthday.
I did not realize I have so many videos on that case. I've got 1, 2,
You have a lot.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 videos that mention it. But I grabbed one that kind of gives, I think, the most recent one, and I'm going to drop it in the chat because
Yeah,
people.
put it in the chat. Absolutely. Go check
it's a
Ellie out.
heartbreaking case, and it was
It
one
is
that
an
you were really
awful
close.
case.
Everything I know about that case is from you, so I still have it on my list of pending trials and cases to keep updated on. So I was like, oh shit, I got you right here. I'll just ask you.
Yeah, I need to see what's going on. I don't know, maybe look at the court filing because that's way too long to not have something, right?
Yeah. Now, Amber, you got your little button. Is she going to school this year, or is she still too young?
She's still 3, so I'm keeping her with me for now. I've heard, because I'm still kind of new to my area, like I haven't even lived here. I guess September will be a year. So I'm like learning new things about the community and stuff. And I had heard that they have like a list that you pretty much, it's like a lottery list that you can put your 4-year-old in pre-K.
Oh, okay.
free. But the list, it's like you're not guaranteed a slot for free. So I have to figure out like something on my to-do list, like how could I get her in there? Because free would be great,
Right.
Other than that, we're thinking about just putting her in dance because she knows, like, she speaks really well. I don't know, so knows all her ABCs. She's counted to 70 before.
What?
Yes.
She's so cute. I love her so much. I would take her for my own in a heartbeat.
That
Well,
is
you know what?
amazing.
Her, like, I want to give her away. I'd be like, let me have her. 'Cause she's really cool. Like, I love seeing pictures of her with her little tiny smile. She's got a
Mini
little
Yes.
face.
Oh my God.
So cute. Oh my
I
God.
have to send you one that I found today, Teresa. It's like when she's 2. So, you know how their faces are chubbier and then they kind of
Yes.
thin out.
She's
Her
a mini
face is
Amber.
So,
Is she, Ellie? I've never seen a picture of
She
her. But,
looks identical to Amber to me.
oh,
Like
wow.
crazy.
like my family and everyone, we kind of joke around that she's my clone.
yes.
Like that's my clone. Like,
That's what
even
people said about
daughter.
my oldest daughter, that and I mean, there's a
Aw.
truth to that. I mean, I've seen obviously I know what she looked like as a baby, but we put my baby pictures and her baby pictures together, and my
Well,
oldest is.
Amber, if you don't want to send her, don't, because for me with Bentley,
Yeah.
I knew I wasn't gonna have any more kids and I wanted every second with him. He went straight into kindergarten and he did great, and he's at a really good private school. And because if she's doing that well at home and you want to keep her home,
Yeah, it's like that's why I feel like if she just did like a dance class too, where she
Yeah,
would get,
just
like,
a little
every-
Biggest
something.
thing is for like pre-K is getting them where they can know how to socialize.
Yep.
Have to
Yeah,
be able to socialize with other kids so that they don't just go to kindergarten and go, oh my gosh, like feeling very overwhelmed.
Right.
Other than that, I mean, like a pre-K, TK, which is TK here, like transitional kindergarten or even preschool, they do very basic things like the counting, writing their name. That's a huge one going into kindergarten. So have her
Yes.
learn how to write her name, which you can do that at home. And other than that, they just do. I mean, I have buckets of just arts and crafts.
yeah, and it's
Well,
like
that's-
we do all that too.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So,
It's like
It's just about socializing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
if I
learning
could
how
get her in
they
for
function
free-
at school. That's why it's only a half day. You know,
Yeah, and I was
so
just gonna say you can choose how many times a week. So like she would only maybe go like maybe twice a week, you know. So
yeah, just
which is
about getting them used to the school routine and
yeah,
you know socializing and stuff like that, and you
yeah,
know,
That's what
I
I did
mean,
with my littles when they were right beforehand. Well, Kaylee had to go to TK just because of where her birthday fell. Which long story. But the other ones I had them in like a preschool, and it was just like a Tuesday, Thursday, 9 to 1. It was just so that they knew how to
yeah.
talk to
That's
other
nice.
kids and what a classroom looked like. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
yeah,
she wants to go to school. Like she talks about it, and I'm like,
Aw,
Oh my God, how adorable. What does she
That's-
say about being a sister?
she's excited. She's
Oh.
talking about sharing her toys, and like we don't
Oh.
coach her on any of this stuff. Like we don't say you got to share it. Like she just has like come out and said like, and I'll share this with my baby brother, and I'll share this with Thomas. Like all this
Oh.
stuff. It's like
I
so
love
it's gonna be.
that.
That's why we kind of did that little Disney trip because it's like her last hurrah as like the only child. Like her life is about to change, and like even though she's excited, like I still am like I hope she knows like what this means because
Yeah.
she's very, you know, she loves our attention. So having to share it, it's going to be
I
interesting.
think she's going to be just fine. I think she might have her nose out of joint because it's an adjustment period. Everybody will be adjusting,
Yeah,
but I think it'll go very quick. Like when I had the boys, they're only 10 months apart, so it's not like, you know, my oldest son had his nose out of joint. He was 10 months old. They don't think like that.
He didn't know any better.
He didn't know any better. But when I had my oldest daughter Elizabeth, the boys, it was no adjustment because it was a different dynamic. It's different when it's the opposite gender. But when I had Minnie Bendy, Elizabeth, we all went out to dinner like because she was a scheduled C-section. So we all like went out and, you know, said, okay, mom's going to go into the hospital. She's got to have a C-section, blah, blah, blah. So we were all talking and we were kicking around, what should we name the baby? We're going around the table. Of course, the boys have some really cute names. Here comes Elizabeth. Pencil. Who cares? That's what she was not excited for a mini Bendy at all. She had her nose completely out of joint because she was the only girl.
yeah. Let me ask
So-
you, seasoned mom, this. I've heard going from 0 to 1 is harder than going from 1 to 2.
It is. Once you've made space in your heart and in your life for a child, the first one is the most difficult because you're new and you're adjusting and you don't know what to expect and it's all new and everything they do is the first time that you've experienced it. But when you have the second child, you are more relaxed, more at ease, more confident. You aren't so easily overwhelmed because you sort of know, well, this worked for my other child. You know what I'm saying? So it is easier, I think, going from 1 to 2 than going from 0 to 1. And after that, you know, when you have
3 is a nightmare.
3 and then the fourth one, I mean, honestly, at that point, everything
Why?
about it's just crazy. You're already broken. Like I like that my son talks about, you know, nobody would want to live with you if they knew you, mom, small doses, you know, you nag, blah, 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 blah. But the fact of the matter is these fools are the reason I don't know how to act. Right. Okay. Like this is what they have done to me. So like, if you're complaining, it's because you were here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I feel some relief then because I plan on just stopping after 2.
Yeah, you're going to be fine, Amber. I promise. I mean, it's always an
They
adjustment.
told me not to do it in odd numbers. They were like, if you're gonna do it, you have to do it in evens. For whatever reason, I don't know why these moms all said that to me. And I'm like, that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. And I'm telling you right now, it's not. It's not the dumbest shit. 3 is weird. Two was I don't even know how to explain it. It was so easy. 2 is just a breeze. I was just like, okay, I've got these 2, and they were 25 months apart. So he was just barely turned 2 when I had Kaylin, and it was perfect. It was so easy. I was like, I've got this. I'm fucking good at it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I don't want to regret not having one more. So I was like, let's just have one more. So we decided to have one more, and everything changed. All of it. Everything changed. The entire dynamics of everything. Because I think having 5 in the family is just weird. I don't know what it is.
But because everything comes evenly. Hot dogs come in even numbers, buns come in even numbers. When you go buy table and chairs, they come in even numbers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So everything comes out in even numbers. So, you know.
Yeah. Plus, I'm a middle child of 3, and I can say, like, it's weird.
So my middle is my daughter. So she's very lucky in the fact that she is the only girl. You know, she's like, I want another little girl. I'm like, I'm telling you right now, you really don't. I mean, because she's spoiled beyond belief, and there's so much, I would say, invested in her, but there really is, because she is the only girl, so she gets so much girl stuff because of that. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the boys are like, whatever. You know, I just give me my video game or whatever, and feed me pizza, and I'll survive. So they're technically easier than she is, but her personality is she's me. Much nicer and much less trouble than I was at 13, but she is my personality to a T.
Yes, she is.
Aww.
She is.
So, and then the little one is maybe that's the problem I have, is the little one is just he's his dad.
Yeah. That's
funny.
Clones.
It was, the boys were not jealous of Elizabeth at all. In fact, I remember when they got older, and I had told them, you know, you guys got to go clean your rooms. And I was in the kitchen, probably making dinner or something. I don't know. Anyway, I went back to check on what they were doing. And the boys were in Elizabeth's room, and Elizabeth was sitting on her bed telling them where to put things. And they were just doing it. And they've always been that way about her. And, you know, and so then when Minnie Bindi was born and they catered to her, that's when Elizabeth was like, no, I don't like this at all. But now, you know, they're all older and it's fine. Yeah.
All right. Well, we lost Allie. Her computer died. Now ATS is saying her computer's dying. So I'll stop talking. I'll just keep going.
Yeah. Let's call it a night. I want to say, before I forget, thank you to Something to Talk About for the super sticker. I appreciate that. DC Primetime, thank you for being a member for 9 months. Teacup Kraken, thank you for gifting a membership. And Miss Me, thank you for becoming a member. I appreciate you guys. Thank you guys all so much. Both of you, problem. Teresa and Amber, for being up here tonight. Watts is just one of those cases, you know, that I knew that I've been wanting to have a panel, but of a bunch of creators, but I knew that this was perfect. And I know you guys had other stuff going on tonight, back to school and all that. And you made time for me, and I really, really do appreciate that so much.
No problem. We got to do more collabs on other cases too.
We do. We really do. We really do. All right.
You know, it's good that we get to have the time to cover a bunch of different cases, because then they get more coverage, but then it does suck because then we don't get to hang out nearly as much. Yeah,
that is true. And listen, I might not chat, but I am watching your Delphi coverage.
Oh God.
Teresa, because I can't quit that case either, but I don't really know what to do with it. And so I just watch.
I know. I've gotten to the point where I'm like, what the heck is going? And I used to cover it. Like, I have like over 10 videos and stuff on it. And now it's just gotten so chaotic. I'm like, can we just get on with this trial?
Right.
So ready for the trial.
That's where I am with Boone. Look, I don't even, you know, look, Boone, how do you not know what's in your discovery? You've had 8 dadgum lawyers, for Pete's sake. At least one of them or 2 of them have gone over it with you. So, you know, let's just get this show on the road. People keep saying it's not going to be October 7th. It's not, but
oh my God,
she hasn't petitioned for a continuance. And anyway, he's not going to give her one. He's already put it in that order. He's done.
That's a fucking sideshow, though. That's what I struggle. So many people like, just cover Sarah Boone. And I watch your coverage on her, and I'm just like, she's just a fucking nut job. Like, if you watch it, it's literally for entertainment purposes only. Like, that's how I feel about that case. Because she's just so cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
She is. And what I was hoping for, I want her to go to trial. I didn't want her to be pro se, but because I wanted to know what her possible defense would be. But ultimately, the reason I keep watching is because I really do feel awful for George's family. Because it's been dragged out for so long that, George does deserve justice. And what the truth of what he went through that night, other than no malicious and an unintentional going to bed, even though you got ready to go to bed, put your PJs on and got your ass in the bed. You didn't mean to fall asleep, whatever, Boone. But I just feel like his story needs to be told. It's like it's in all of her, crazy ass letter writing and everything. George has gotten kind of overlooked, and he is a victim. I mean, it's just awful the way he died.
I know. It's always awful in all these cases.
All of them, But anyway, I'm going to get out of here, you guys. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to play the outro and then call it a night. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, and Amber, and Allie, and Melissa Jade. It was awesome. I appreciate it. Thank you, chat. Love you guys. I'll see you guys later.
Okay.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night, you guys. Bye.
Cause it's Friday, you ain't got no job, and you ain't got shit to do. Well, fuck you.
No malicious content or effort was towards it.
No malicious. Pity turn.
Minutes later.
We all do a little mad sometimes.
And you know this, man!